Hello and welcome back to Shadow of the Cast. Today, Villain Theory and I are talking about the new heroes in the Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. wave, as well as kind of discussing some of our thoughts around the upcoming Civil War expansion. Very excited to have Villain Theory here. How are you doing, Villain Theory?
I'm doing really good. This wave of heroes has been really interesting, and then Civil War is completely bizarre. So I think this is gonna be a good episode with a lot to talk about.
Yes. So we got a lot of questions around Civil War. The community is I think pretty divided on this expansion, and potentially probably the most divided I've ever seen it on an expansion.
It is so funny to me that the expansion is called Civil War, and it's really divided people onto two sides.
Yep, yep. And I'm sure we have a lot to discuss when we do get there around our thoughts. I am excited for it, and also I think it is important to remember that it is just a small part of that expansion. You don't have to do the head to head. I keep trying to say that over and over because it does seem like a really solid and robust expansion for even non PvP players.
Yeah, I just want to quickly say before I forget, we'll go into it more later on, I'm sure. But you can go onto the Fantasy Flight Games, website where they kind of sell the product to you, and you read a paragraph, then you read half of a huge paragraph, and right at the end, it's got one sentence about the new heroes. The new heroes are not on the box art, and it's got one sentence about the PvP. The player versus player. It's the little mentions at the end, but the main thing does seem to be these customizable scenarios that you can play cooperatively, solo, whatever.
Yeah.
So yeah, really, really interesting. But I'm also excited to talk about the heroes. The from this wave, we've got Shuri, Silk, Falcon, and Winter Soldier.
Shuri, Silk, Falcon, and Winter Soldier. And if it's not broke, don't fix it. Let's just go right down in order. So, the first hero up that we are going to be talking about is our newest Black Panther. That is going to be Shuri. Villain Theory. What is Shuri's mechanic? What is her core mechanic? What is she doing?
So Shuri is very much kind of an evolution, shall we say, of the core set Black Panther T'Challa. Both characters revolve around the Black Panther upgrades. They've got textual cards which refer to them, and they each have four Black Panther upgrades, which are pretty similar to each other. Shuri's, it's a little bit of difference, but the gist of them is going to be the same as T'Challa's. If you've seen Panther claws on T'Challa and you see Panther claws on Shuri, you kind of know what you're about. You kind of know what you've got here. But what's different is that I assume most people here played the core set, played original Black Panther. He's going to play these upgrades. They're not going to do anything. They're going to sit there until you play Wakanda Forever, and they explode the board. All these things happen in sequence. Shuri's a bit different. Shuri will play an upgrade or two, or maybe all four of them, whatever she wants. But when she makes a basic attack, basic fort, basic defense, plays one of her events, uses a signature ally, whatever she kind of does is going to trigger one of them rather than all of them in sequence. So she'll be triggering them more often, but not all of them at once, if that makes sense.
Yeah, and each one of these are broken up into two different parts. There's kind of a lesser ability. So, like the Panther's Claws that we were talking about, it deals two damage to an enemy. But then every single one of these has an ability where you may discard to get an additional effect. And so Panther's Claw says you may discard this card to deal three additional damage and it gains piercing. And so whereas T'Challa keeps these upgrades around and then he's triggering them with his, I believe he has five Wakanda Forevers in his deck, which is
Yes.
that's a lot of Wakanda Forevers. But he keeps triggering all of them whenever he plays the Wakanda Forevers, and then he gets that additional benefit for the last one in the sequence that he triggers. Shuri's a little bit different, where she's kind of making these decisions of does she want to discard them, does she want to keep it around so that she can remove more threat with her beads. And I have found that that decision is way more satisfying than I thought it was going to be. Shuri has been the standout for me this wave, especially when it comes to the I had the lowest expectations and I think I enjoy her the most.
Oh, that's really fascinating. I have also really enjoyed Shuri. I maybe play a bit differently to you, but I think that's kind of the beauty of this game, how different players can express themselves. I love with Shuri to turn one ideally, get this upgrade that I particularly want, and I will not trigger its second thing, which discards it for a bonus. I'll keep it toward the until the end of the game, and maybe in an emergency I'll have to pop it or something like that, have to do the big effect. But I'll love to maybe let's say grab Panther Claws, and just use it right up until the end. And then when I'm gonna win, I'll get the burst damage. And I very rarely get all 4 upgrades in play for her. I'm maybe more of a kind of 1 or 2 person, but definitely just keep one core one in play. But that's really fun. I have played it the other way. Certain builds, the team up card really rewards having more in play as well. The team up card is fun. It's kind of a Wakanda forever, triggering your upgrades, but also puts an upgrade into play. So it kind of builds up your board and does stuff. It's really fun. Team up cards have been pretty good this wave overall, I feel like.
Yeah, I think we've seen a huge step up in the power and kind of, I don't know if excitement of the team up card is the right word there, but I've been really enjoying the team up cards. So when you say you pick like a core one, is there one that you gravitate to, or is it kind of deck build dependent?
It can be deck build dependent, but it can also be scenario dependent. If we did a game against Ultron with, I think it was Falcon and Shuri, and I was like, oh, I'm gonna take the spider bites because those
Yep.
drones are gonna have a bad time. Other times, I think we went up against N7 Nur, and it turned out because when he changed his form, you're gonna take damage a lot of the time when he goes to the attacky form. And I ended up finding the vibranium suit. The healing from that was really useful. But I always like to try and go for the Panther Claws because I like damage. So that's kind of a one I prefer, but I will alter it based on the situation.
Yeah, I think from a true solo perspective, I love the kimono beads, the one where you, as a special, remove a threat from a scheme and then you can discard it to confuse an enemy.
Hmm.
I'm just a huge fan of that because she also has a upgrade called Aja Adana, which I think
Yes.
is just a silly card. It's a 1 cost upgrade where you can exhaust it. Don't It doesn't even have to be a alter ego trigger. You just exhaust Aja Adana and shuffle one identity specific card from your discard pile back into your deck. And this opens up so much flexibility because if you have just discarded the beads, you can then shuffle that back in. Her alter ego ability allows you to exhaust if you want to pull that right back out and play it for free because you reduce the tech upgrade by 2, I'm sorry. So you can play it for free. Or you can start shuffling your Vibraniums or your Wakanda Forevers or really anything that you want back in. And the level of consistency that Aja Adana provides is just so strong, I think.
Yeah, I love shuffling those vibraniums back in. You can even shuffle like your signature ally back in. Then the team up in solo play is even more consistent if you want something like that. Because I think the signature ally is really good. So yeah, Azure Adana is very, very nice. I mean, all of her like non-Black Panther specific, the ones that trigger with Wakanda Forever and her hero ability. Queen Ramonda is insane healing, and then Elephant's
Mm-hmm.
Trunk is absolutely insane, ridiculous money generation. We have some crazy games where a couple of the games we've got Elephant's Trunk turn one, and that's kind of been it. It's like, okay, every turn I've got 3 more cards than I should have, kind of thing. And that feels very fun. And a lot of Black Panther upgrades get triggered.
Yeah, the elephant's trunk can get up to 3 card draw, which is kind of insane.
Yep.
Uh, yeah, especially if you are running like the Dora Milaje, you can you can exhaust them for the elephant trunk card draw, kind of save
Yep.
them a couple of consequentials and keep them around a little bit longer. What are your thoughts? I guess like to kind of pivot slightly, still kind of within the theme of Shuri, but what are your thoughts around the Dora Milaje package, which are the basic allies? You got Annika, Ao, and Okoye, and they kind of all, whenever they activate, they trigger a special ability on another one. It's very like team focused,
Hmm.
very almost similar to the posse.
I really like them. They kind of are what I expected. That you need to get a second one in, or have the support in to try and start getting some proper value from them because they cannot trigger their own specials, and their buddy special. They're really very teamwork oriented, but they are better than I thought they would be because I thought that might be a bit weird. Have to get one in, then get another one in for value. And while that is kind of still the case, the payoff has surpassed my expectations. I way prefer it to the posse. And I love the elephant's trunk as well. It's basically, strength in numbers every turn kind of deal for me. And because of how much I like elephant's trunk and maybe a bit of the luxury where I normally play 2 player, I'm always going down to get that card draw, which means I always want more Wakanda. So I'm always bringing, the Dora Milaje. And they're just fun as well. I think the way they trigger things on each other, there's a bit of sequencing, is very engaging. So that was I don't like them as much with T'Challa, not nearly as much at all, but I really like them with Shuri, and I think for her, they're really good.
And is the reason that you don't like them as much with T'Challa is because sure he has the elephant's trunk and he can use them for effectively batteries, or is there another reason?
Well, it's partially both. So, um, the elephant's trunk is a big part of it, but Black Panther Shuri is what I'd call a very interactive kind of hero design. Whereas T'Challa is very much kind of self-contained. You know, you've got those 5 Wakanda Forevers, maybe the new team-up card, but you can't add in more Wakanda's Forevers. You can't add in more Black Panther events. That's kind of the same for Shuri, except she can trigger her Black Panther events by readying up. And what Okoye does from the Dora Milaje is boost stats. So I can boost Shuri stats, then use her multiple times, you get multiple Black Panther upgrade triggers, and it all comes together in this beautiful package that I really, really enjoy.
Yeah, her readying and always ready ability, or like her deck builds are just so much fun because not only are you getting like that tooth ward or the one damage, but every single time she activates, she gets to activate another special on one of her upgrades, which is really cool. Um,
Yeah.
what is your favorite like aspect to play Shuri in?
I was glad you asked me this question because I was about to say we haven't actually mentioned her alter ego ability yet, where you can exhaust her to find one of those Black Panther upgrades. That's how that's a way to get them on turn one. But you can also exhaust her to get a tech upgrade and play that. Reduces the cost by 2, so I can just exhaust her, get an energy barrier, for example, and now I've kind of turbocharged my repurposing because I love repurpose. It's going to sound predictable to people at this point, but her synergy, being able to grab those extra tech cards, I really, really like that. And that's actually another way I might prioritize her Black Panther upgrades. How do I speak?
Eh,
uh, Sometimes if I start with one of the Panther upgrades, maybe one of the two that I think suit her the most in this kind of whatever situation I think is going on, in my opening hand, I'll just pay for it normally. Then I'll exhaust Shuri in a repurpose build to get an energy barrier and kind of set that up. And I've really enjoyed that kind of thing. So it's going to be protection's probably my favorite, but leadership is very close behind, and I have enjoyed her in every aspect. So I think that's a quite a strong design across the board. But yeah, I love repurposing, I love readying, and I think Shuri does it really well. And you can even then heal the Dora Milaje, which I think is potentially gets a lot of value, and it's a whole thing. It's a whole system of interactive kind of parts of the deck, and I really like that.
yeah. I would agree that the repurpose build is one of my favorite ways to play her. She just gets crazy. And then
Yep.
if you use a Koye to pump her stats up, and then you repurpose, then you're like swinging for 7, 8 damage each turn. But
Feels
because you
good.
said that, I'm gonna mention leadership because you said my favorite aspect, and I'm gonna go ahead and shout out your favorite aspect at that point. And leadership specifically with the sidekick. I really
Yes.
enjoying sidekicking T'Challa because after he activates, you get to resolve the special ability on one of your Black Panther upgrades. And so if you have a sidekick T'Challa, he's getting extra health. You can keep him around, and then you have like it's side by side where you can then ready both of them and then trigger
Yeah.
more of their upgrades. And it's just oh my gosh, I don't even know if it's a snowball at that. I think I would call it an avalanche. It just kind of it's wild how strong that can be.
Yep.
Um, and then if you run with like the Triskelion, what I've had a lot of fun. I did a game. I think it was actually a two-handed game. I don't even remember, but basically, I was using the Dora Milaje and Okoye to pump up T'Challa's stats,
Yeah.
and then using T'Challa and Command Team to ready and like swing for 4 each time. And that like there's just so many like fun interactions, and sure he felt like a hero that I thought was going to just be very straightforward, not super not have a ton of super interesting or meaningful decisions, and I was completely wrong on that.
I love sidekick leadership. That was the one I was thinking about. It's like, do I go for the repurpose or do I go sidekick? Those were the two really standout ones to me as well. It reminds me a little bit of X-23 in a way because readying up Honey Badger is so powerful. So like
Yes.
side by side, and readying up T'Challa, it's a little bit different, but it is effectively triggering. Basically, your hero response basically does the same thing. Triggers a special and a Black Panther upgrade. So you side by side, you get to attack again. T'Challa gets to attack again, but then your upgrade gets to go out again, and your upgrade gets to go again. And avalanche is absolutely the word for us. I think that's a phenomenal shout. I really, really liked Shuri.
Where last question I have at least, where would you put her in terms of power if you had to give her kind of a ranking?
Man, I found power ranking so difficult. I actually did a tier list like a month or two ago, and I was like, right, this is the final time I'm ranking stuff because it's difficult. Everything's so good, and there's so many characters, and there's always new cards. Um, for me, I think, I think it's important before we talk about this to recognize that there are a lot of very, very strong characters in the game now. There's over 60 characters. Now, when I'm rating 20 characters, you could put a significant amount of them higher. But now a lot of the characters which are no weaker than they were, it's just a lot of new strong stuff, right? So I would put her at maybe, just vaguely, because everyone's list would be slightly different. But I would say just like A minor would be where to throw that out. A minus. Very strong. Does have to get the Black Panther upgrade in play. Maybe get something going a little bit, but is very, very good. That's
Yeah.
kind of how I feel.
Yeah, I would agree. I think she lands in the A tier for me. She's just flexible, and Aja Adana is just so good, especially in solo. You can just grab exactly what you need and be okay.
Yeah, it's funny. Sometimes I pass on Azure Adana like more than I thought I would, which might sound crazy to you. But then everything in my hand is gives like, oh, I ready. I do a Black Panther thing. Oh, I've got Claude Strike. One of our events. I do a Black Panther thing. And I'm just like, I can make a big progress this turn, so I'll just do it because she doesn't have a single bad card. I don't think. I'm looking at it now. Like, I don't always play all of her upgrades, but like, sometimes I do, and everything just works. Which is, her fording event can trigger Panther Claws and also be a kind of a damage thing, or her damage event, a Claw Strike can trigger the fording thing. So everything is just good. So
Yeah.
yeah, I mean, I'm just convincing myself of A tier more and more. She's also got a lot of money.
Yeah, she's very flexible and yeah, can pretty much solve any problem with those upgrades that the villain's going to throw at you. You can flex into trying to solve any of those problems, which is nice.
Yeah.
Sweet. So next up we have a web warrior. So we're getting a little bit of support for different tribes throughout this wave. We got kind of the Wakanda support with Shuri, and we got some web warrior support with Silk. And Silk is a brain burner for me. Silk is pretty interesting because her entire concept is tucking cards from the encounter deck under her identity card and then using those as a new type of resource, either for additional damage, defense, thwarting, swapping them out with eidetic memory. There's just like, it opens up just like, it makes the game just significantly more complex, not necessarily in a bad way, but it is a lot because um, trying to figure out what card you want to tuck when, because pretty much all of her abilities deal with if you have a tuck card from the same encounter set as maybe the attacking enemy, you're going to get a defense boost. And so do you want to go wide? Do you want to have try and get something from the villain as well as the mod set? If you have a couple mod sets, are you trying to get a lot of them? Or are you going to go deep so you can have like all of the villain mod sets to build up those buffs there? Um, but yeah, I've enjoyed Silk a lot. What are your overall thoughts on Cindy Moon?
Silk has been really, fascinating, very different than what I expected. I think I was really optimistic about her coming out, and then some things went a bit lower for me, but then some things, I was actually a bit skeptical of like her whole tuck mechanic, but then I quite liked it, and I'll elaborate on that. I guess she kind of went against my expectations got shattered in different ways. um, but I really love the idea of tucking, the cards. You defeat an enemy minion, you tuck it underneath you. Defeat a sky scheme, you tuck it underneath you. Solve a treachery, you tuck it underneath you. All of that has been really, really fun. I love that I get to like defeat something and then I get to spend it as a resource. I think that's really a fascinating concept. So the whole tuck mechanic and spend it for benefits has been like almost like a 10 out of 10 for me. Like that part I've really loved. Her actual events, which make use of the tuck cards, have been, I don't know, 3 or 4 out of 10 for me. It's fallen a bit lower because you need to have the right, let's say there's a minion in front of you. You need to have that minion in front of you. You need to have the right card from that set tucked beneath you. And then you need your attack event in hand. You're trying to like, line up 3 parts, 1 or 2 of which you're going to have minimal control over, or maybe you have control over one part but not the other. So it's trying to bring a lot together, I find. And depending on the scenario, that can be really, really easy or really, really difficult. The Age of Apocalypse scenario is some of my favorite ones I play quite a lot. I played Silk against him a few times, and the minions are from one set, the side schemes in another, and then the villains got their own weird stuff, and it lines up a lot less. But then I feel like one of the classic examples would be something like Mutagen Formula, or even Ultron, where a lot of the key things are all from the same set, and you can kind of defeat a minion and then use that tuck card against the side scheme. Whereas when things are all separate, doesn't shake out that way. So I like her Ultra Ego ability, where it's discard any tucked card, doesn't have to match. Same for Organic Webbing, discard any tuck card, you get to ready up. But when it comes to her thwarting event and her attack event, I like them both, but I don't love them because a lot of time it won't line up unless everything else is lined up for me, if that makes sense.
Hmm. I have found that I like her upgrades way more than I like her events. So her upgrades kind of give a similar benefit to the events. So like Spider Claws, when she makes a basic attack, you can exhaust and she gets +1 for each card tucked under from the same encounter set as the attacked enemy. And then the attack gains piercing. And so you don't have to discard the card, because sometimes I do find myself trying to figure out exactly what to use some of these resources for. And then I also have the problem where whenever I resolve a treachery, I forget that I can tuck it for whatever reason. I'll remember the tuck side schemes and minions frequently, but treacheries, for whatever reason, I don't. But those upgrades, and there's a lot of them too. She's a very upgrade focused hero, upgrade and support
Hmm.
focused hero. I'm just counting 2, 4, 6, 7, 7 upgrade and or supports, and then a player side scheme. So over half of her cards are not events, and they
Yeah.
are like things that you want to get onto the table. But I really like the upgrade designs where she's getting additional stat boost based on how many cards she has tucked from that encounter set. I thought that was fun and another part of that puzzle to solve. I think one of my, I don't even know if it's criticism. One of the things that I have found that lowers the complexity for Silk for me is I very rarely am not tucking a card. Like, it feels like if I have the opportunity to tuck, I have space to tuck because I'm discarding them for so many different things.
Yes.
And so, which I guess is not really a bad thing. It's different than my expectations when I initially saw her. I thought I was going to try and, you know, curate this perfect like 4 card setup under her, and it's just like, no, every single time you're just taking cards because you're spinning them so fast.
Yeah. I didn't know how fast to be spending them, but I kind of went into it thinking I'm going to be opportunistic. Whatever I can get, I'll get, and I'll use as best as I can. I think that describes a lot of my experience quite a lot. Like with Shuri, whatever I need to this upgrade, I'll just grab that one, make the best of it. And I can really tell that the same designer has designed Silk, kind of as Shuri, but Silk and Falcon remind me of each other because they both have like free upgrades slash supports that want them to exhaust to get the benefit from. So it's like trying to find the readies to get use of all of them potentially. Or what I've been doing, and we'll probably cover that more with Falcon, but even with Silk, I'll pick one upgrade and I'll maybe like prioritize it. But once I've got one in, the others, and I'm talking about their stat boost, like Spider Reflexes boost defense, Claws boost attack, Owlwhip boost thwarting. If you've got the right cards, so on and so forth, that matches. I'll prioritize one of those, and once I've got it, the other ones become less priority to me until maybe I've got like Organic Webbing or Peter Parker, Spider-Man Web Warrior ally on the board to ready up with. But I'll have like one main upgrade and kind of like tailor my plan a little bit around that. Usually it's the Spider Reflexes, it gets you another tucked card, Organic Webbing, and then the Ultra Ego ability, spend them fast. If you then add an event or something into that, you're just spending all of this stuff. So you can really spend them fast. Yeah, I don't think it's a criticism from me how fast you spend them. In fact, I think I quite like it, but I think, particularly in solo, like depending on how the cards fall, you can find yourself with a shortage of them. I've even found a shortage of them sometimes in 2-player, but then sometimes you have like an excess. It really can vary significantly.
Yes. What do you think about Get the Scoop, which is her player side scheme? It's when defeated, the Cindy Moon player looks at the top 2 cards and they can tuck one under their identity. Comes with 4 threats. It does not have victory, and so you can recur this multiple times.
Okay, well, everyone I've ever talked about this with, which is mainly my Discord server, but everyone's always liked it. I do not like this card at all. I feel like it's so much effort for such tiny like gain that I'd usually, if I've got J. Jonah Jameson down, which is her support, which can remove threat from a side scheme, and it can find get the scoop. If he hasn't got anything else to do, absolutely, I'll get the scoop. And I think in big multiplayer, when maybe like even the odds if someone's running that can like cleave it down, there are exceptions where it gets better. But for me, it's like I gotta remove 4 threat and like play this card in the first place to tuck 1 card. Like I'm good.
Yep. I have very rarely used it. It'll
Ah,
be very similar to like shopping spree for me, where if shopping spree is a little bit different because I can build a deck around shopping spree, but get the scoop after I build out all my player size schemes, I throw it out there to thin the deck and be a master plan trap. Like it's I like I don't even know. I maybe like there have been a couple of times where I've used it to set like the boost card, so I kind of know what that is. But even still, it's just like it's a lot of effort for at least a lower player count to thwart down for
it's
4.
it's how do I describe it? I feel like it's more fun than it is good. And normally, like, oh, you just play fun because you don't just have to use the good cards. But to play your signature kit, you might have like a couple of web warrior allies. Maybe you've got organic webbing in hand you want to play down, and it's like, why would I play get the scoop of all these other good options in front of me? Like, I really have to like set aside maybe 1 or 2 better cards that I could play if I spend it as a resource toward them. Like, I'm now going to use this card that's going to not pay off very much, even though it's like a fun concept. And I do like the control of the top card of the encounter deck because you get to kind of know the remaining one there. Um, yeah, it just doesn't do it for me. I'm so happy that you said this because I feel like I'm not alone anymore.
Nope, absolutely not. My favorite thing about this card is that it's a wild resource.
Oh yeah.
It gives me some flexibility there. But I do want to talk about my favorite card in her entire kit, and that is Eidetic Memory.
Yes.
Eidetic Memory is a 1-cost upgrade that is an interrupt. Whenever you reveal a card from the same encounter set as a card tucked under your identity, one of the things about Silk is that I feel like because of her mechanics, all of her cards are so wordy. It feels like a lawyer wrote her cards, right? When you reveal a card from the same encounter set as a card tucked on it, it's just like exhaust eidetic memory, and then you get to swap those cards and you reveal the new card instead. And you tuck the other card under silk. This has saved my butt so many times, and it's so great because you get to see what the card is before you decide if you're going to swap it or not. And like I've had situations where it's like, okay, like if I draw a Dark Designs or an Advance, I lose this game, but I have a drawing near or something tucked under. I can swap it if I do draw that, and that's happened before. Or just like, oh my gosh, I really don't want this advanced glider. Let's swap it. And just like that ability to manipulate the encounter card, I have found to be so strong.
Yeah, I like it as well. I think like creatively as well, it's so interesting. And again, you can tell the same designer as Falcon has done this because we'll talk about aerial recon later, I'm sure. But there's definitely some swapping and encounter card shenanigans afoot in these different characters here. I really like it as well. I mean, I have had games where I'll play it, and like I didn't have the right thing under me to swap very often. Again, I'm thinking of these Age of Apocalypse scenarios where I'm getting things from different sets, and then sometimes it's not like much different to the other one. But sometimes, like you say, it can really change the game. It can be really significant. Oh, Shadow of the Past. Well, what about Court of Guard? And I'll get rid of,
Yeah.
I don't know, Skilled Investigator or something. And I'm like, okay,
Yep.
that was fine. So yeah, I really like that card.
I also, real quick, I want to talk about the art of this card because eidetic memory, the way that I understand Silk is that she has like this souped up spider sense. And so it looks like to me that she's fighting, I don't even remember his name from the Inheritors. Is that Morlin?
I think it's Morland. I don't know.
Yeah. But like
It's one
you
of them.
can see how Silk like sees one of these future paths where she does get hit. And now she's jumping out, and it's just like I really like the art style on this card. If that's
Yeah.
cool.
Have you ever seen the Sherlock Holmes movie with Robert Downey Jr.?
Yes.
Yeah, and he can like see things ahead and he like talks it through and like plays that how he wants. Like it's kind of like that to me,
Yep.
which I think is very fun.
Nice. The last thing I want to say about eidetic memory is my favorite thing is to swap a nasty thing for another minion, because then if I can just take that minion right out, I get to tuck them again.
Yeah.
And so like because you've tucked them from taking them out the first time, you can almost like generate this like pseudo like engine that you just kind of like keep sending that same like goblin thrall out and just keep taking them out and just keep tucking them.
Yeah, that's awesome. I really like that too.
Nice. What is your favorite aspect or deck build to play with Silk?
That is an excellent question, and I'm going to stall as I think about that. To shout out her obligation, I quite like Shuri's as well, but especially
Very
Silk's
good.
obligation. It's so fascinating to me. It kind of comes on the board and kind of absorbs a couple use of you tucking cards, and you have a choice whether to tuck two cards beneath the obligation, which gets rid of it, or three, which gets rid of it permanently. I think that's fascinating design.
And then also, as you're thinking, I just want to shout out the precon or like the new cards that came in this kit. I was a big fan of all of them, but specifically the protection cards. I really like Ready for a Fight. I've talked about
Yeah.
that just a silly amount. I love Dr. Sinclair, especially in like those higher player count games, being able to have just a mental to heal from for your recovery, but then stop hitting yourself. Where whenever you defend, you get to deal damage equal to your defense for the attack, and that card is so much fun, especially with like Gambit when you use like natural agility and you're
Oh
like
yeah.
3 for 13, and then it's just like trigger change of fortune, and it feels like protection is kind of really starting to round itself out, and we've got a really robust, like fun, and then multiple different pathways to play green.
Yeah, I remember when we first did this podcast, we said this on a couple of episodes. I used to be like aggression and leadership are my two favorites. These days it might be leadership and protection. I just think it's got more interesting. We've got stuff like Torn and Change of Fortune and now
Hmm.
Ready for it. Just got all these really interesting, unique, unusual kind of tools that synergize really well with certain hero mechanics and things. I think I'm gonna have to be boring and probably take you away your favorite choice again. I think Silk Protection just makes a lot of sense with like the extra readying to get
Hmm.
used to her stuff. I just think it's really, really useful. But it's close for me across all of them, honestly. Maybe even closer than it was for Shuri. Like I played her last time in aggression with a boot camp web warrior deck using the new Spider Woman aggression ally,
Oh, love it.
and it was really fun as well. It worked really well.
Nice. Nice. The Spider Woman aggression ally is so much fun to build around. Protection is a just banger. I really like her with Ready for a Fight so that you can trigger her alter ego ability. What is that called again?
I
Action.
don't think it has a name.
It's called Action. Um, um, but being able in True Solo to flip down, discard a card to draw two cards, and then draw up to six, ready for a fight back into a defense and potentially use her reflexes. Yeah, spider reflexes
Yeah.
to tuck a card from the attack that you have just now initiated. I really like Ready for a Fight with her. Protection is a blast, but if I have to choose a different one, that's a good question. I kind of like Aggression. I think she's a fairly decent minion slayer.
Yeah.
And so, like, using things to summon those minions, I have actually not tried her with the new spoiling for a fight card that we got in Bucky. That would be a lot of fun. But you pull these minions out because she gets that additional benefit of being able to take them out. And if you are going to be flipping down to Alter Ego to trigger any of her stuff, Hall of Heroes then works pretty well too to kind of like draw, and then you can draw 5 cards if you discard a tuck card and your Hall of Heroes. Do you get? I yeah no, I'm just on this like spoiling for a fight train. That seems kind of fun, but
I've got to shout out just this. I feel like especially for lower play counts, but one way or another helps you line up the
yep.
right thing from the right set with like wall crawl.
Ooh.
So you to help do that, which I feel like is very very good. But I don't know. I played one way or another too much. I like the protection kind of thing. Yeah.
Yep. Are there any cards in this other than Get the Scoop? Because we kind of talked about that, where you're just kind of passing on pretty consistently, or are you playing most of her cards?
It's rare I play Spider Reflexes, Spider Claws, and Outwit. Like I said, normally like
Okay.
1 to 2 of those is what I'm going for. But Smooth as Silk, it depends. If I'm full of tucked cards, I won't touch it. But if I really need one, like I will use this. So I mean, I guess those are the only things. But overall, I still feel like the whole kit is generally useful.
Yeah. Any other things that you want to talk about with Silk? Oh, actually, where would you rank her? Like, what ranking would you give
Uh,
her power rating?
uh, when I did my little tier list that I referenced, people said I should have put her higher, but I played her a couple of times since, and I just feel like there are so many characters that are really really strong. I think with certain builds you can go crazy, but the way I tend to play, uh, I don't know. Like if it was, I'm feeling like if it's unrestrained, I know the crazy things I can do with Moon Girl alongside Web Warriors here, and I'm like it can go berserk. But for me, I put it maybe like B tier, high B, I think, which is still I think very good.
Hmm.
But I just find some of the cards don't always line up perfectly, and that kind of holds it back a little bit for me.
Yeah, she. I think she can be very good, and her variance kind of does depend on the villain as well.
Hmm.
Like with Green Goblin, I remember one of the first games I played with her was like an expert mutagen, and like she crushed it, absolutely crushed it, just because so many things are from that set. She was just able to trigger everything very consistently. Um, I think she is a little bit more challenging to pilot than Shuri is
Yeah, for
without
sure.
any without, I would say, a significant more number of decisions to be made. I think there's about the same amount of decisions that you're making, and I have about as much fun as with each of these characters making the decisions. I just think that it's a little bit more brain burny for Silk versus Shuri. And so like in that sense I lean towards Shuri just because I feel like it's a more fun and inviting experience. But I would actually probably put her mid to low B, I think, for me. Um she I think she can struggle getting set up quickly.
She has a lot of upgrades, like a lot of what I call slower tempo, lower impact cards.
Yeah. So I still think that she can be really good. The Web Warrior package is sweet. It's always fun to run the Web Warriors, and I'm happy that we got a couple new toys for that package in the pack. And I saw somebody comment, and I forgot who it was, so I apologize. But somebody was saying that in both of these releases, because Shuri was released alongside Silk at the same time, and then Falcon and Winter Soldier were kind of released or were released at the same time, where one of them was a little bit more straightforward and then one of them was a little bit more complex for both of those releases. And so Falcon, which is the next hero that we're going to talk about, I think is a little bit more complex to pilot than Bucky. So let's dive in and talk about Sam Wilson and Falcon. And I think this is going to be a fun discussion because I don't know how much the community likes Falcon, but I think we may be on different pages than the community.
I broke my, I'm, winding down my YouTube channel. This significantly slowing to stopping. It's taking me longer for several reasons, but I did decide to do a little bonus like video about Falcon because I've seen all this negativity, and I'm like, what's going on here? I really like Falcon, um, and yeah, I really like him, and I do think it's important to note that for Falcon and Winter Soldier was designed by Caleb, but Falcon designed by Tony, who also designed Shuri, Silk, and Nick and Maria, like the rest of the wave. So there's definitely you can tell the different style when we get there. But Falcon, I think if you don't like Falcon, it's probably because of potentially three reasons. Honestly, one, I think he's a very control heavy character, very like precision. Um, Whereas to contrast with Winter Soldier, people will see he's very much a high tempo, punchy, very different style.
Yeah.
Whereas so that's a big factor. The second thing I think about is that I don't actually like Falcon's precon at all for him.
Mm.
So as we were talking about Silk having a few setup cards, a few low impact initially cards and kind of thing, I feel like most of Falcon's kit, like 8 to 10 plus cards, are very like slow/low impact, and it doesn't mean they're bad, but it means you can't rely on them to carry the whole game or deal with problems in the short term. And I think they need supplementing, right? And I feel like the aerial stuff he comes with is kind of slow. Like Arrow, you can play her, boost a stat by one. Well, you need other Arrow characters to take advantage of that. Flight Squadron is the same kind of thing. Resource Reserve, very kind of slow tempo. You're paying to be able to store something for later. So not only have you paid for it and played it and it's done nothing yet, you don't have to store something under them, it's done nothing. And then you kind of use it, that kind of thing. And then Wingman, I don't like that card. Anyway, I'm not going to dissect the whole precon, at least not right now. But I feel like aerial leadership is not the best fit for Falcon, or maybe like partial aerial leadership, like really refined and optimized. But I feel like otherwise you're putting something that's a little bit slower tempo and needs a bit of setup on a character who's got a lot of control, but not a lot of stuff, to immediately make an impact or progress the game. So I feel like they together have given people a very like slow/low impression of Falcon. And the third one I'm going to say is I find Falcon and aerial leadership actually, but Falcon specifically very complex. I have found him, I think, sometimes more brain burning than Silk. Um, and it might depend on the deck a
Agree.
little bit. But Falcon has a lot of things to manage, a lot of sequencing, it's a lot of chance, and your knowledge of the encounter deck, what's in the discard pile, managing all those alongside your deck and different things, and different combinations and different resources that can be spent on different things, such as Falcon's Flock, his resource generator, and Power of Flight. A lot of stuff can, go a lot of ways. And Falcon is a character, though, that I think will grow in people's opinions over time. One, because they get used to kind of some of the more complex decision trees, and two, they start to play him more and more outside of his precon, and sort of learn that he's got a good deck to kind of support something and control the game, but it needs something to kind of go to add that in. I think that will, kind of unleash, Falcon's potential in a more general sense.
I've said it on stream, and we may have actually even talked about this, but I've said before that Falcon is better than his precon. I think that they didn't do him any favors by putting him with this precon, especially his strength and diversity, which I think is an amazingly fun card, but it's also a very slow card because you need all of the different traits, and Falcon's also trying to build up all of his upgrades, and it's just like so many things are going on, and it's like by the time that you have built it out, especially an expert, the villain's probably kicked your teeth in, and so like so that is pretty tough, but
I
Falcon is
I'm
really
I'm
cool. Yeah,
I'm
what's
gonna
up?
cut you off just briefly.
Yeah,
I actually drew like strength and diversity, and I don't think it's like that slow. But I think if you're just playing aerial characters on top of it,
yeah.
it's like aerial on one trait, aerial and one trait. Whereas I want to just like drop somebody with two different traits to me, two different traits to
Yes.
me, and that's like a different story. But yeah, combined, it's almost like two decks in one here with a little bit of random stuff on the side. Is kind of I
Hmm.
think what you have said to me before is you felt like the precon was pulling you in different directions,
Yes.
which I 100% agree with.
Yeah. I think we have said it, but just in case we haven't, Falcon on his hero side, his whole kind of shtick is that he plays with the top card of the encounter deck face up. And then whenever he uses one of his events, or if he has battlefield awareness of basic power, he can discard the top card of the encounter deck and get bonuses based on the number of pips in that boost icon area. And that is really fun to manipulate. Then you have cards like Red Wing, where that's his signature ally, where you can pull Red Wing back to your hand to either remove threat or deal damage to an enemy based on the number of icons on that card. And the where was I going with this? Oh, and then Eagle Eyed, just like his straight up ability is after you play an aerial card, discard the top card of your encounter deck, or discard the top card of the encounter deck. And so all of this kind of boils down to you can set yourself up for what I think is his best card, which is Aerial Recon, to get you a very innocuous encounter card. And I think that's where a lot of Falcon strength comes from, because Aerial Recon, you can deal yourself an encounter card, put a counter on Aerial Recon, and then whenever someone would be dealt an encounter card, you can remove a counter to have it not done. So because you're seeing so many of these encounter cards, because you're discarding them for your effects or Eagle Eye or your events, you can find something, maybe it is like a caught off guard, and you have that skilled investigator. It's like, I'm going to take that just because now there's still a negative effect from the encounter card, but it's going to be so small, and it's also not random. You know exactly what it's going to be, that you can set yourself up to be successful against it in the upcoming player phase. And that, I think, is where Falcon's strength and the majority of the puzzle comes in, is getting aerial recon down so that you can deal with the encounter phase, because if the villain is not stunned, you know exactly how many boosts he's going to have, and you know what your encounter card is going to be. And that's just very satisfying.
Yeah, I love aerial recon. I still think Falcon like functions completely without it, but be able to get an easy encounter card, or at least even just an average one. Sometimes if I'm not sure how many more cards I can look through, I'll settle for average just so I don't get some like under fire, shadow of the past,
Mm-hmm.
that kind of thing. Especially if I know I'm set up for like dealing with threat. If there's like a low threat side scheme, I say, okay, that will come out and that will go away in a minute. That's no problem. The Court of Guard is funny. You can leave like Falcon's Flock with one counter left on it, and then just oh no, that last one
Oh
counter.
no.
I'll just get it next time I go Ultra anyway. I'm glad you explained all that though, because I didn't explain any of that. I think I went into a Falcon. I don't know if it's a rant or a monologue. But definitely, I have some strong feelings about Falcon, who I think is, better than some of the reputation he's quickly earned is, because I actually think he's amazingly fun. I really, really like Falcon. I thought before he came out, had this worry slightly with Silk as well. I thought they might be a bit complex. Uh, they are both quite, complex, but it wasn't in an overwhelming way. And I really like looking at the top of the encounter deck. The issue I think some people have is that he's very controlly. He takes away some of the random surprise in the villain phase. But for me, everything going on in the hero phase is a random surprise. What have I got on the top to work with? Is my event going to do 5 damage, or is it going to do 7 damage? And all these different things like that. So I kind of feel like he shifts the kind of random thrill of the game to the hero phase from the villain phase, if that makes sense.
Mhm.
But I really like it. I think I said in my video something to the along the lines of he's global logistics, the hero, and I like global logistics, so it worked out really well for me.
Yes. Oh, I like that. That's fun. Yeah. I also like, and we've talked about this before, but the ally hero parallels that they're able to design in, like when Falcon
Oh yeah,
enters play, you get to look at the top 3, discard one of them, and then remove threat. And like Falcon is then like kind of doing that as a hero. And so like I really like it when they're able to kind of have those similarities between the ally and the hero form. That's just really cool. What is your favorite card in his set?
favorite card. It might. Ooh, it might be. I'm between two. I'm going to shut them both out, and you'll have to deal with the consequences
Yeah,
if I take
love
yours.
it.
I like Red Wing, and
Okay.
I like Battlefield Awareness. Is that crazy? Um, Red Wing, I think, is a very underrated part of his toolkit. So Red Wing is a signature ally, 2 cost, 1 fort, 1 attack, 2 hit points. Sounds terrible. I mean, it's still not bad, but it's like 2 cost allies typically very, very good. But you have this hero action where Red Wing can fly back to your hand, and you discard the top card of the encounter deck. And depending on the boost icons on there, which also includes the boost stars and like a lot of previous effects in the game, you deals damage or removes threat equal to that, which can be really useful. But then you can play Red Wing and do it again, play Red Wing and do it again, which isn't numerically kind of efficient, but it does kind of let you do a lot of anything you need, like burst damage or burst thwarting. In a pinch, it lets you convert excess resource cards, because I'm running 3 Power Flight alongside the normal basics, and probably any other resources I can get my hands on, like Power Leadership, or the pool resources. I've loved Falcon and Pool. So I can, too many resources. Red Wing is just going to bounce back and forth, and things on the board are just going to explode. This crazy Falcon, not Falcon the hero, but this little Falcon called Red Wing, they're just zooming around. So for me, I don't like to like build into I'm going to recur Red Wing. That's never like the plan, but it's a useful tool
Yep.
when I need it. It kind of smooths everything else over. So that's my first one. And then Battlefield Awareness, I don't know. He's got like this defensive upgrade, the Vibranium Microwave.
That is how you
And
pronounce it.
he's,
Yes.
yes, or Microwave. The Soup Kitchen as well, like heals him and plays something. It's all a bit healy, a bit defendy. People will know I'm not really into defending and stuff. I like Battlefield Awareness, which will help me like fort or attack more. So I find that quite satisfying.
Battlefield Awareness is a really solid card. Red Wing is a lot of fun. Red Wing I slept on, and then I think it was actually you on one of my streams where I drew like Red Wing and just all resources. Like, dang it! And you're like, no, this is great.
Yeah.
And then I was like, oh, it is because you just play Red Wing 5 times.
I remember that. That was one of the first streams I've managed to catch in a while where I've been a little bit busy. And I was like, oh no. And I'm like, oh no, this is fine. I'd be
Yeah.
happy with this.
Yep. And then since then, I've had a lot of fun spamming Red Wing with Falcon's Flock, which is his resource
Yeah.
generator that does not exhaust, which is really cool. And so
Mhm.
if you have Red Wing from your alter ego hand, which you can get using his alter ego ability, and you have a fully formed Falcon's Flock, you can just play Red Wing like 5 times and just like just let him go crazy. And since Red Wing is an aerial card, you can use the Eagle Eye ability. So if you play Red Wing and there's like a 0 boost, just pitch it, and hopefully you get that 3 or 4. I have hit a 4 with Red Wing, which was fun.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
The Thunderbolts are fun with them.
Oh, that makes sense. I can't remember what our record is, but I know one turn I think my partner was playing Falcon and she had like three double resources, team building exercise, heli carrier. I was like, "Do you want my heli carrier?" And this bird just like annihilated like the. I think we won against the villain that turn. I think that was against Expert Ronan. That's why I think I remember that so well.
Nice.
And that felt really good. That was very fun. And like you said, Red Wing will trigger Eagle Eyed, can help set up other things as well. So I don't know, something I think is an unspoken benefit is the more you discard from the encounter deck, yes, you'll get toward that acceleration icon token faster, but you know more what's gone, so you know more what to expect. Because you can aerial recon something, but if you're in multiplayer, the other person still has to deal with something, or if you deck out, there might be another encounter card, so on and so forth. But you can kind of play around like, oh, both advances are gone. I can go trigger more safely. You
Yep.
just have more knowledge about what's left in there. So that's been really fun. We've got down to like there's only a few cards left. And I'm thinking in my head, I've not seen exhaustion from the encounter set, so I'm just exhausting to defend more often at that point. And lo and behold, it can block it, that kind of thing. So very high skill cap, very like high knowledge cap.
Yep.
I kind of think I went off topic of the cards you were even talking
Oh
about.
no, you're totally good. To bounce off of that, Falcon is one of the characters that every single time I play him, I feel like I am learning more about him. And I think that's true in a sense for all characters, but Falcon, I feels like there's just like this significant level of improvement the more that I'm playing
Mm-hmm.
him, just because I am learning those tricks of like, okay, which ones do I need to take? How am I going to react? And it's very forward thinking. And how am I going to react to the encounter cards that I'm being dealt, or like am I counting the encounter deck? It's not a low skill cap hero for sure.
No, I think I was discussing on Discord like yesterday, but I think I said I put him in like my top five most like complex, difficult kind of things,
Yeah.
just because there's so much. And I don't want to sound arrogant here, but like when I play a new hero, I feel like I usually grasp it like pretty quickly. Like in a game or two, I feel like I got like the general gist of it down. But for Falcon, I felt like when I was at like game 4, 5, 6, I still feel like I'm making it notable, like bigger leaps of improvement
Yeah.
than you would expect at that point, or like for myself personally, which is really quite engaging. I've complained about Domino in the past. Actually, played her recently, had a really good time. But I've complained like it feels like there's a lot going on, slows down the turns. You got all these decisions and moving parts. Falcon could be compared in a similar way. You're messing with the top of the encounter deck, not your own deck. But a lot of people like Domino anyway. But for me, as like somehow for Falcon, this just feels really, really good, and I was enjoying it. So it wasn't as maybe it was more complicated than I expected, but it wasn't in a not fun way. It was in an engaging
Yes.
way.
Yeah.
So that was pretty awesome. I really liked it.
Nice. Since you chose two favorite cards, I'm going to also choose two favorite cards. It's also our
Yes.
podcast. We make the rules.
Heck
I
yeah.
like the microwave. I really like the microwave. It gives him +1 defense, which takes him up to a 3 defense, and it's also just a unlimited energy barrier where whenever you would take a damage, you can exhaust to prevent and deal a damage. It just turns on like perfect defense so quickly, and I love the perfect defense build, and so having the microwave out there is just like a really, really solid protection. And then to combo off of that, I think my favorite card in the kit is Draw Their Fire, which is a 1 cost per player aerial prep card that says until the end of the round, you proc it right at the start of the villain phase. You discard it, and then Falcon doesn't exhaust to defend until the end of the phase, which is silly. Especially if you have the microwave. If you have specialized or defense specialist, bump them up to 4. You have armor vest, which pumps them up to 5. You have all of your like things online, and then in solo, if you have like a villain and a couple minions, now you get to attack or you get to defend all of them. I really like charging up Angel's Area at that point because at that point you have 15 counters on Angel's Area after turn 1. But even in like 2 or 3 or even 4 player, when you're paying for like this card is going to cost 4. If you can defend for the villain and you can pretty reliably not take too much damage if you're doing this at that 4 or 5 defense, you protect the entire table, and that's just so cool. It's a preparation card, so you can practice plan it right back to your hand and do it again. And it's I that's my favorite style to play especially in those
Nice.
multiplayer games. And so Draw Their Fire just like chef's kiss.
Yeah, I know you're like naturally more of a support player, or like you like defending, whereas I don't like defending. But I tell you what, I'll tell you what the most satisfying thing is. You've triggered draw their fire, you defended the attack for you and like your buddy, because I'm a two-player here probably, and then a quick strike minion comes out, and I'm like, yes, I defend that too, and it just really feels like you're getting one over on the
Yes.
villain, and I absolutely love that. So
I
yeah.
also really like to take like a sinister strike with aerial recon, knowing that I will trigger Draw Their Fire.
Oh, I don't know that I've done that.
It's
I
very
think
satisfying.
I think I prioritize like the battlefield awareness, and sometimes I don't play the microwave. Whereas maybe like you're more into the defense thing. It's fine. That's such a good combo. I really like that. That's really fun.
Yep. You can also
Um,
do it with the quick strike minions, and
yeah, those are
it's
the
it's just it's satisfying.
yeah. I think there's a lot of fun cards here. I do think a bit like Silk, and we kind of I kind of went into my little monologue rant about this. He does have a lot of like slower tempo,
Hmm.
lower impact cards. So I'm not always playing like the Soup Kitchen and awareness, or awareness and the microwave, because he, unlike Silk with organic webbing, also doesn't have that natural way to ready up. You can take like flying formation for aerial leadership. You can take Earth's Mightiest Heroes in any aspect. Red Wing being an Avenger is so handy, by the way.
Yes.
And there's like protection ways to ready. And when I do play protection, I don't typically go heavy into the perfect defense with him, but I always sneak in that unflappable, because it's going to happen at some point,
Yep.
especially with the microwave. So yeah, there's a lot of good stuff here. Is it safe to say protection is your favorite aspect for
Yes. Yes. Protection is my
him?
favorite aspect for him, with a caveat that I don't I don't love perfect defense in true solo with him, because you're taking a slow hero, adding a slow archetype, and that can be a recipe for disaster, especially against some of these
Yes.
higher tempo villains. And so, perfect defense at the 2 to 4 player count is absolutely my favorite way to play him. And so, I'm going to go ahead and lock in that answer as my favorite, the perfect defense. But in true solo, he can really struggle to get off the ground just because he has so many upgrades and supports that he needs to play to be effective. And then you add on, now you have to play 7 to 8 more upgrades from the perfect defense kit to have him even be. And so like that would be my only criticism, is that in true solo protection, I'm typically going with more than always ready, with like ever vigilant and things like that, to kind of
Yes.
trigger off the battlefield awareness and be a little bit higher tempo. But I like what you said. I still kind of will typically throw like an unflappable or an electrostatic in there, just to kind of like, because I will be defending, especially if I plan on playing Draw Their Fire. What about you?
Yeah. Yeah. It's tough. Again, I feel like I'm a broken record. I like him in basically all the aspects. I'm gonna pull like a weird twist here, because I know people have seen my pool deck for Falcon. A lot of people, at least, Marvel CDB. I do really love that one, but I think leadership is still actually my favorite for him, but not straight up full aerial, like the full thing. Like maybe I take Cannonball and put a
Mm-hmm.
couple things on him, but I'm not going to be taking every single thing that I possibly could, unless maybe I'm a two-player with someone who can like afford to defend, so I can just go all out. But it's like a bit weird because he does like to defend. But just something really simple like Mighty Avengers works really well. And I like it two-player. I've done some combo decks. We did. I played Falcon with like what I consider all the interesting characters to play with him at two-player. It's like Scarlet Witch, Star Lord, Thor, Rocket. Both of those last two love dealing minions to them, stuff like that. But we did a game with Scarlet Witch, where Scarlet Witch brought 3 command teams. So did I. And with Arrow stacking like Cannonball, who's like the repeat use, doesn't
Oh,
take consequential
geez.
damage. We had like Cannonball at like 8 attack, and I think he activated like, I don't know, like 7, 8, 9 times or something.
That's amazing.
Yeah, it did like 120 damage or something at the final turn, like everything combined. But also, it was doing a lot every turn up to that, because we had a lot of readies in there and stuff. Beyond that, and Flight Squadron was raiding him up every turn. So a little bit of like combination in multiplayer. Some of those aerial cards can really pop. So I think solo, it's a lot more ambiguous for me, but two-player, I do like to really do some weird aerial leadership stuff. Still fun. So yeah, I think he has a surprising amount of depth with decks he can play, because
Hmm.
I can even do like Mighty Avengers, and I don't have to have that many aerial cards, and he still works.
Yes, I agree with that. Where would you put him in terms of power? Because
This is
it's a hard one, because I think it's dependent on player count. If he has someone that can help manage the early game and let him set up, he can kind of be that protector. And help a lot. But if he's playing true solo, he has to find that tempo himself, which kind of I think drops him.
I think you can build like quite a high tempo deck though. Like I'm had some really good results. I want to say low A. I'm that confident. I love control that much. If as long as they have like some good tempo options built in, power flight is going to be turbocharging a lot of the stuff I'm doing, and I can control like a lot of what's happening. I have really good results. Like we took him up against Expert Ronan, and I just felt really like actually very strong. Not like S tier, like super easy, but like Ronan had issues. But I think I'm gonna settle for like a strong B tier here as well because there is that setup element. It doesn't always line up. Some villains aren't as good for him as others in terms of boost quantity.
Mm-hmm.
Venom Goblin is one of the most difficult villains in the game, but weirdly he has quite a low amount of boosts, like
Hmm.
icons. I mean, he does have quite a few stars, I guess, but it's a bit of a weird one.
Mm-hmm. I would land him probably in the middle of B, and I'm thinking specifically for like true solo play. When I initially broke him out, I compared him a lot to Nightcrawler, where like this high defense, not a ton of damage in the kit. But I think Falcon is better than Nightcrawler because that, I mean, just knowing and being able to plan and the control aspect of Falcon's game is so strong once I was able to kind of grok it and understand like what I needed to do, how to set those encounter cards, and that really opened him up for me. And it's not necessarily he's not going to be unless I guess you could probably build him that way, but like I don't think of him as like a rushdown hero. It's very much a like hard control. Like let's figure out how to like survive, and then we'll come in and figure out damage. Kind of once we've controlled the game. And so I would put him at a B. I have struggled with higher tempo villains in True Solo.
Mm. Have you played him of like Dive Bomb and Pitchback out of
Yeah,
curiosity?
yeah.
Okay,
That's the game that I posted to as of the morning of the recording of this podcast.
Ah.
It was fun.
Yeah, no, I think that's all fair enough. But yeah, I'm a huge fan of Falcon, and I'm a huge fan of I don't like control like in the way some people describe it. It's like control the board, build up, build up, build up. Like I think you prefer building a little bit more than me. Not that I'm a rush player, but I don't know, somewhere in the middle. But like controlling the villain and like what they do, and then capitalizing on that, I find really fun. So strategy I play quite a lot. So maybe he just plays into my style quite well.
Yeah.
But yeah, he landed very well for me. That's maybe a Falcon flying pun as well.
Nice. Nice. Love it. So the last hero that we're going to talk about before we dive into kind of our Civil War discussion is Chase Them Down the Hero, which is Winter Soldier, who is a shield soldier. He's a 2/2/2 stat line, which already really solid. Then you add on an 11 hit point stat line, and you're like, yes. And then you make all the true solo players just absolutely giddy with his Lethal Protector upgrade, which is after you attack and defeat an enemy, remove 2 threat from a scheme. Villain, what do you think about Winter Soldier?
Winter Soldier is what I would say. He's kind of like a rush hero dressed like a minion slayer, if that makes sense. He's kind of a Wolverine in that he kind of just goes and he wants to like play an attack every turn. But he's also, I didn't realize this at first, he's kind of motivated to basic attack every turn.
Yep.
And he's got a lot of things that reward him for defeating enemies, which are primarily going to be minions. But most of the attack things he comes with are kind of better value against the villain. And some games with him can be surprisingly short. Is how it feels for me. And it's like I'm just going to attack. Oh, there's a minion. I'll attack, go through it with overkill or something. That'll take forever the main scheme, and I just keep on attacking. And yeah, I have quite a bit of fun with Winter Soldier. He's not my style of hero necessarily, but he is very fun. He's landed, there's no flying pun here, but he's landed well with me as well. Yeah, I mean, what do you think? Tell me some of your thoughts.
Yeah, Winter Soldier. I think you hit the nail on the head. He's not what I enjoy in a hero, but I have had fun with him. He's kind of not the closest, but he's very close to like just a smash and bash. Let's sit down and just throw damage type hero. And I've enjoyed him a decent amount. I really like his cybernetic arm, which is the upgrade which his alter ego can grab, but it's a resource
Yes.
generator for an attack event. But whenever you exhaust it, it generates a wild resource, which is important for things like Hone Technique or any of those like resource kickers. And then the attack does one additional damage. And there's a lot of ways that you can exploit that. So like multi-instance attacks, like one by one, which actually we got a reprint in his precon.
So good.
So good. Now instead of 2 and 2, it's doing 3 and 3. Or if you have like melee, it's 4 and 4, and things like that. I really like that design. I like it when I can modify existing events, and I have typically really enjoyed those heroes like Miss Marvel,
Yes.
Gambit, Nick. Those types of modifications are really fun. And then just True Solo, he is just an absolute powerhouse. Being able to both solve the problems of any minions and threat that come out, like, okay, well, that is the game that you have to learn and figure out how to play in True Solo, and Bucky does it with his printed ability, pretty much. I also really like Silent Infiltration. I was surprised that we got 2 copies of this preparation card. It's a 2 cost. It says after you attack and defeat an enemy, discard this card, ready your hero, and confuse an enemy. And so he even has that security in flipping down to alter ego, which is so coveted in True Solo. And he has 2 of them just by doing what
Yes.
he needs to do. And so he's fun.
Yeah, he's really. I don't know how to describe it. You know, just basically all his cards say attack. Even his signature ally says attack. His arm says, the word attack. They've all got something to do with it. The arm, the increasing the damage. I was disappointed we got a reprint of 1 by 1. Not because I don't like it. I actually think that's an amazing card to reprint to, more people can access it more easily. Because I think that's been an underrated attack in general. Just playing it raw for 2 damage and 2 damage. I think that's a really good card. But being able to make it 3 and 3 is like my favorite thing. So I was disappointed that the designer had already done that for me, because I was excited to build a deck around it. They'd already done it in the precon. And this precon is really good. Oh, we got to talk about firepower at some point.
We do have to talk about firepower.
But to stick with just Bucky for a second, I wonder if Silent Infiltration is kind of like his forwarding event, because he doesn't have any forwarding events. But Confuse, almost a little bit like Armor Up on Colossus, who also doesn't have any forwarding events, lets him go alter ego more safely. Maybe that's kind of the design there, but I like it. I like that card a lot. Winter Armor is kind of boring. So that's my least liked card for him, I think. Maybe not. It's not a card I play fairly often, I would say, but meh, whatever. But I play him to do damage, not to give myself 3 more hit points. And yeah, I think he's the character of these 4 I've played the least. Maybe I'm the least sure about, because I know you're going to ask me in a little bit to rank him in power. So I'm really curious to see what you say, particularly as a solo player. So I think I've mostly played Winter Soldier at 2 player, but nonetheless, he is. He's more punchy than I imagined, I think, is my general takeaway.
Yep, he likes to throw damage, and I was going through for some reason the Hall of Heroes doesn't have 1 by 1 listed in its precon, so I panicked for a second, but it is in there. I double checked
100%.
Cerebro. My least favorite card in Winter Soldier is actually his rifle. I'm not a big fan of his rifle. It's, I think, 3 costs for +2. It does get piercing and ranged, which is nice, but I'm not really going out of my way to play his rifle too much. I'll usually try and tutor it with like a superpower training or on that second deck pass, but I feel like he has so much damage already that I don't necessarily see myself needing that 4 effective +2 damage immediately at the start of the game. So that's probably my least favorite card. Yeah,
I think this might be a multiplayer difference here for me, because quite often there's more than 1 minion out, and if I play something like Metal Arm, that's quite a big resource investment. And if I don't have another one, but we want to get the extra 2 threat removal from defeating it, I then attack with the rifle. So I was underwhelmed by it at first, but that rifle's grown on me. It's a way that I can punch 1 minion into oblivion, and then I can rifle the other one. Because Arm Block I'm using against a villain. Electrical Discharge I typically do want to use against a villain because it's got that stun. It is fine against minions, but I feel like his attacks, Metal Punch will overkill onto the villain. I feel like his own cards don't naturally let him defeat 2 minions too easily. The aspect cards, however, definitely do, but his own ones don't. So if I'm in Protection, Justice, Leadership, that rifle becomes more of a priority to me, even though I can't, lock and load side scheme, it in as like easily, if that makes sense.
Hmm. Yeah. And then for in terms of power, because I know you asked about that,
Oh,
there's so many good heroes in this game. So it always makes it hard. But from a true solo standpoint, there's really nothing that I find that holds him back. He has everything that you need. I top 10 seems tough. I would say top 15 just cuz I need to
wow.
revisit the top my top 10 heroes and kind of get an understanding cuz there's 60 of them now. But I mean, he just has everything. He kind of throws thwarting out the window as a necessity because you're able to summon these minions, and we have so many cards that can summon minions and get benefits off them. Now, even outside of aggression, you get Come Get Me Bob or Square It Off or Infiltration, and you get all of these cards that get minions. You get a benefit. You take them out, and you get to thwart as you take them out. You get to draw a card with Winter's Mask. His kit feels so homogenous and so like it just it's a well-oiled machine. Mini has Confused in his kit, which is huge, I think, for true solo with the Silent Infiltration. He has just Arm Block, which just delete a villain attack. He has Stun with Electrical Discharge. So he has the statuses. He has just an amazing stat line. He has ways to up the attack. I would probably say he's top 15 for me in terms of power.
Gotcha. I think you put him a bit above me, and I wonder if that's like the two-player thing coming in. Sometimes there'll be like three minions or something, then he might summon another one and somehow defeat all of them. And that feels absurd because I'm sitting here, particularly one of our first couple of games where we had Winter Soldier and Falcon, and I was like aerial reconning him extra minions. And I'm sitting here as Falcon. Now all these minions are gone, and because of that, all the threat is gone. I'm like, what do I do? I
Yep.
mean, I don't have that much like villain potential damage here. Like, I guess I'll just I don't know, Red Wing. So he is definitely good, but I feel like his turns have a lot of ups and downs for me. Sometimes he have a really good turn, and sometimes he has like a fine turn. Um, and sometimes like a side scheme will come in with 6 threat, and it's going to be awkward to get rid of it, kind of thing. I don't know. I think it's the kind of thing where, to me, a lot of his attacks want to go to the villain or defeat one
Mhm.
minion and overkill to the villain. It's a bit like I don't want to say one-dimensional, but he definitely has a plan, and I think if something messes up that plan, it can like throw a spanner into the works. So for me, I was actually thinking kind of. I feel like I keep saying this, but I was truly thinking around like a B tier, but with a high variance depending on how
Yeah.
things go. But definitely very strong, very capable.
I I
Yeah,
also wonder if that's a little bit of a difference in our play styles because I will also just play Winter Soldier not super fast and loose, but more control. And so like if a and just kind of rely on Metal Punch for villain damage and then focus on
mhm,
minions and getting all the benefits and like kind of
yeah,
prolong the game. Which I don't necessarily think that means he's any less good than someone who can beat him faster. It's just like because like I really have never felt that I am out that I have completely lost control when I'm playing Bucky.
mhm.
Um yeah, I like Bucky a lot. Interesting. We skipped over what our favorite aspect was for him.
If we
Curious.
both don't say the same one, I'll be very surprised.
It's tough to not say aggression.
I feel like he's made for aggression. He's got those interesting hooks with the minion summoning and other aspects. I have enjoyed him in every aspect, which I'm saying for all of them. But for him, aggression definitely stands out to me. It's got like Man on the Wall, Hall of
So
Heroes,
good.
stuff like Bring It, Firepower, One by One. Like half his precon, I feel like just turned out really good for him,
Yes.
if I'm honest. So I gotta say aggression.
Yeah. I agree. I think aggression is the most fun. Man on the Wall is a bananas card where you can only play it if you have the soldier trait. And then as a hero action, you can exhaust Man on the Wall to reduce the cost of the next card you play this phase by 1 for every minion engaged with you, which at 1 is awesome value. At more than 1, it is insane value, right? It's 1 cost upgrade. And now it's very limited on the characters that can play it. And I think it was is it Venom that only has the soldier trait and alter ego, so that's a little awkward. But like things
I
like
think so.
that, it's just really good. You got minion summoning, you have Hall of Heroes, Bring It is just really good. And then yeah, I also to say something different than just the straight aggression, I really like him in Change of Fortune archetype in a protection deck, where if you defeat somebody in the villain phase, you get to draw 2 cards, and so his arm block deals 3 damage to an attacking enemy, and then also if you're running like cards like First Hit, which deals 2 damage, but if you use his arm to pay for it, it does 3, which can take out a lot of the minions. Kind of set himself up to take that out. I've enjoyed the. I don't think it's his strongest build, but I've enjoyed the build that is Change of Fortune.
Nice, nice. I'm going to throw out a card for him, which has really helped me outside aggression in particular, which is multi-talented. I don't know if you played him with multi-talented, but that card for me is like an auto-include now if I'm playing him like Justice or Leadership, especially in some protection. It's the card that came with Jubilee that you have to pay for every different resource type, but it does 2 damage, 2 threat removal, and 2 healing. And his arm can pay for attacks. It is an attack, so you can definitely get one of those guaranteed. So you just need to find the other 2.
Ooh.
And for me, I think in solo, if you've got a minion you defeat with that, that might be too much threat removal unless you've got a side scheme out, right? But in 2-player, I get to boost it with cybernetic arm up to 3 damage, take out the minion. Maybe I soften up first, whatever. Then that will remove 2 threat from his chase them down lethal protector ability. Multi-talented is removing 2 threat as well, and it's hitting me for 2, so I need to invest less in defense around it otherwise. To kind of keep up his kind of like I don't know, minion slaying, damages the villain and stuff as well. So that card for me has been phenomenally useful, and we'll draw like Hard Knocks and multi-talented or Hard Knocks and Stealth Strike, and quite often it's multi-talented via the one that we are playing that turn.
Interesting. Okay, yeah, I'll have to try that out. It's a fun shout. With multi-talented and what you were saying, like a little bit before that, where like sometimes there's just not enough threat. I have found that he loves player side schemes, especially in true solo. Probably even not even in true solo and 2-player and everything, just because there's now more threat to remove. And so, like I have rarely found threat to be an issue when I'm playing Bucky. And so when I can introduce more threat to the game, Bucky likes that. Getting benefits. So he's summoning minions to get benefits by playing spoiling for a fight. He gets to ready. He takes out the minions to take off threat from lock and load, which then gets him a wet. It's just like there's this whole ecosystem that Bucky is just like, oh, I can win this system, and like he's solid.
Like he does this really interesting stuff too. I'm thinking, we played him in protection last time, and because he's got the cybernetic arm and his mask, his tech cards, playing Spider Bite for 1 baseline.
Nice.
You can even like repurpose his arm, then flip down and get it back for cheap, kind of thing. And there's like little weird things with it that I think this has been a strong wave of hero packs.
I would 100% agree. Before we get into some of our questions where we're gonna like rank some of our favorites, I did want to touch right back on firepower. We talked about it. I want to talk about it. So this is a 1-cost attack event where you can exhaust up to 3 weapon upgrades you control, and for each upgrade exhausted this way, choose an enemy, deal 3 damage to it. The attack gains ranged. Is this a good card?
It's not bad. It's really fun. I think is the key thing. Before we talk about power, it's just fun. Suddenly all your weapons are like, you're using them all. 3 damage, 3 damage, 3 damage. That just baseline is fun. It's obviously particularly best on weapons that don't exhaust to do what they want. Yarnborn, I think it's pronounced, is like a classic. Black Panther to T'Challa's Panther Claws is another one. You can just, shoot his claws or something. I don't know. Energy Spear, if you're a Guardian, you go in aggression, you can do that. We did that with Rocket, who also has, other weapons. So, like, it has a lot of potential. It's got the ranged kind of keyword associated, so you can, like, directed force. Boost it up to be, like, 5 damage, 5 damage, 5 damage, stuff like that. Boost it with Gambit. Good. Boost it with Nick. Boost it with, I don't know, Winter Soldier's cybernetic arm.
Yep.
It takes some setup, ideally 3 weapons, but it's still fine with 1. It will depend on the weapon, because if it's like Winter Soldier's rifle, which will do 2, and I like use firepower and that does 3 through exhausting it, I'm not loving that, but a lot of the time it's significant gain. So firepower, good card, fun card.
Yes.
Like it. What about you?
Firepower is a ton of fun. I didn't think about Rocket, but now I want to break Rocket back out. I did an old hero new trick Rocket with the new Spectrum Leadership Ally with Salvage to kind of go, because it counts the mental and the wild, and so Spectrum's thwarting for like 1 billion, which is a lot of fun. It was way too much threat removal for a solo game. but firepower, especially because Rocket's not discarding his weapons. So once he has run out of charges, you can tinker the weapons. But before you tinker them, firepower them, then you can tinker them. And so that's a really fun combo there. I did run it with Venom because when I was building the deck, I was like I missed the up to 3 weapons. So I was like, let's see how many weapons we can get. And Venom has like 4, and then I was running Energy Spear, and then I was like, oh, you can only exhaust 3 of these. Oh no. So but yeah, I really like Energy Spear on the Guardians. Those are really fun. Pulse Grenade is another one where you don't have to exhaust it to get an effect, and so I'll sometimes run just a Pulse Grenade,
Yeah.
which is also another fun card with Falcon. But Pulse Grenade,
Yep.
you can exhaust and then use Pulse Grenade, or you can just leave it out as kind of like this very, very limited resource generator for firepower to just deal a lot of damage. Yeah, it's fun. I like how you get to choose. You can choose different enemies, so you can blow up a minion. You can hit the villain. Multi-villain scenarios. You can hit multiple of the villains. It's a good time. So like, if we count it up, you got 3 base. Aggressive energy can be 4. Hone technique can be 5. You can go gambit for +3, so that's 8. Am I missing?
So you can spend 2 aggressive energies on it, overpaying, but you still get the effect.
Perfect.
So
And then warrior skill.
warrior skill, but also you could potentially have 3 copies of directed force in hand.
Beautiful.
And I believe there's another one I was thinking of. Oh, sharpshooter upgrade as well on the board for the ranged.
Perfect. So 3, 6, 7. So 17 times 3, 34, 50. Oh, math. 51 damage for 2 effective resources.
You put more
good.
effort into that than me, but my takeaway is goodbye villain.
Yeah, goodbye villain.
Not me, but like the villain in the game.
Yep. Nice. Firepower is a lot of fun cards. I think both from a hero standpoint as well as player card standpoint, this wave has just been fantastic. There's so many cards we didn't even get to talk about that I thought were fun. But I do want to move into our listener questions. And so the first one that I think is a nice little recap for our discussion so far is Dr. Smooth Moves has asked, who are your top 3 heroes of the Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. wave? And since there are 6 of them, can you just give me a ranking of 6?
You want me to suddenly rank all 6 heroes?
I do.
Based on this.
I can go first if you want, if you haven't thought about it.
No, I've obviously thought about it.
Nice.
And what wouldn't I do for Doctor Smooth Moves? But I'm gonna say lowest for me. This is maybe gonna surprise and upset people, and it will probably surprise you. I'm gonna say Silk.
Okay.
I like this tuck. I like the tuck mechanic, and here's the thing: I like Silk, and that's what's so interesting. Why I think this is a strong wave. I like Silk, but I find trying to line up the right thing on the board, the right thing tucked underneath me, and the right thing in my hand a little bit annoying. Where I might prefer to play a different web warrior sometimes, because the tuck thing is unique, but I think the other things she doesn't tend to be like super unique. There's some interaction there, but for me it just doesn't. I feel the least compelled to play her, and that's what I'm going on here. The current moment in time, I feel less compelled to play her. Like I look back at the Agents of Apocalypse wave. Age of Apocalypse. Wave. I didn't love that wave's hero packs all that much, but like Magneto, I did quite like, and I feel like Magneto, I'm scoring over Silk for me, in that respect. So I guess I'm ranking 7 characters now, but Silk goes lowest. Then it's going to be Maria Hill, who we talked about significantly last time, and I have my issues with her. I probably have more issues with her than any other hero, but she's also very unique, can do very unique things, particularly when you go into multiplayer and like really lean into supporting, and that's very compelling to me. There are still Maria Hill like deck ideas that I'm excited to try. So I like that. But then we get to the top 4, the good 4 that really stand out to me. And coming at number 4 is going to be Winter Soldier, just because he's not as much my style. We kind of talked about it. He's just not my style, and I think that's kind of the beginning and the end of that. I really like him. I think he's fun, but he's just different to generally what I'm trying to get out of a game. It reminds me when Wolverine came out, this very attack-focused character. A lot of people loved him. I was very low on Wolverine. He's grown over time, and I never disliked him. But Winter Soldier, I like him, but he's not for me. And then we got like the top 3, and I don't know how to rank these. It could be in any order. I'm gonna say number 3 Falcon, but it's a very strong number 3 here. It's almost a joint top 3. I just like the control. I like everything going on there. I think there's a lot of fun things we talked about. I think I talked about him quite a bit when we talked about him. Then we got Shuri, who I just find really compelling. Getting those things in play and then triggering them, the whole kind of system there, and the Dora Milaje thing. But then we've got Nick freaking Fury. He's got a flying car.
He does have
I
a flying
can.
car, which is pretty cool.
It's awesome. I get to take threat from the enemy and use it against them. I get to boost up attacks, and I think he's got so many interesting decks in every aspect. Like Shuri, I can do weird repurpose stuff as well, which is always a benefit. He's shield, so I can do weird global logistics stuff, which I like. So he's hitting two of my favorite decks to begin with. Before we consider, I like him with side by side sidekick as well. I guess that's going good for him and Shuri. I guess these characters just work with my favorite deck types, but do them in different ways, and that's kind of hard to compete with. But I love all those top three significantly.
That's a really good list. I'm surprised to see Nick so high because Nick is towards the bottom of my list. He's not the bottom, but
What?
yeah, I know. But we have to add tension into the podcast somehow. So
No. Civil War.
Civil War. Oh yeah, that's right. That's where the tension's gonna come from. Nick's my favorite as well. Then so no, yeah, I like that. It is kind of fun how much our lists differ. I think my least favorite. I've only ever gone favorite to least favorite, so now I have to do it backwards in my head. My least favorite, I think, in this wave is going to be Maria. I feel like I played her enough times where until I move and play her more multiplayer, I'm playing the same game each time, and that just is not something that I find super satisfying. So, and I should note that the majority of this list is true solo, like kind of biased. So, Maria at 6, Nick at 5. I know.
That's fine.
I know.
I think it might be the two-player difference, because whereas Nick gets a little bit more, I can maybe open up and do a couple more things with him without the threat going over.
I do really want to play him more in multiplayer because I've just been burned so many times by extra schemes and just like it's like no. So Nick in 5. In 4, I think I would also put Winter Soldier. I think he lands right there at 4, but just missed the podium, just by a little bit. But I think he's really strong. He's fun. He's like almost relaxing to play in the sense of like there's not like super brain crunchy decisions that need to go in, but I do really like those brain crunchy decisions. But he's just like, I mean, like it's sometimes fun to just set up and smash. 3 for me is going to be Silk. I do like the tuck card mechanics. I like the Web Warriors. Silk, I think, is a lot of fun. Eidetic Memory is just so satisfying when you pull it off. 2 is Falcon. Falcon is awesome. Yeah.
This is higher than I thought you would rate him.
Yeah.
But I'm pleased.
Yeah. And I would say that probably after the first game, he would be like 5th. And the more I play him, the more he rises up for me, because I also think that his pacing is a lot different than kind of a standard Champions game. It's a lot slower. It's a lot more controlled. It's less tempo focused, and it's like, okay, like sustain, then push. And so once I kind of got that through my head, which is very similar to Nick as well, kind of understanding the way and the tempo that he likes to play the game, I enjoyed them more at that point. And then number 1, Shuri, I love Shuri. I was if you laid out all of these heroes, I'd probably say that Shuri would be my least favorite before I played them, and I've just had so much fun with her. I mean, like I have gotten to the point where I think Shuri in all of Marvel Champions is top 5, pushing top like 7 for me. I like her decision making, her decision space. I think is just really, or it's way larger than I thought it was going to be. And her sequencing decisions, her deck builds are just awesome. I really like Shuri.
I really like Shuri as well. And I think Shuri is probably in my top 10, which is a big compliment to Nick Fury, and maybe a bit different from your Nick Fury.
Yeah, right.
But that's a really good list as well. I like it. I see everything you're saying. I feel like I guess Silk and Nick are the big differences for us.
Mm-hmm.
But I still like Silk. And hopefully you don't hate Nick too much.
Oh, I don't. No.
But yeah, I mean, it's surprising to me as well. I mean, if you'd laid all these characters out before I'd played them, I mean, it depends if we look at the preview or not. But you know, I already knew Winter Soldier wasn't going to be my style. He was even more punchy, straight punchy than I thought. But I still like him a lot. He's kind of more punchy than I thought, but more fun than I thought. But I knew he wasn't probably going to be top one or two. But for the others, I have no idea.
Yeah,
And now I do.
perfect. So moving on to our next question. This is from Leroy Jenkins, and this is talking a little bit more about the deck building cards that came in the wave. And so they want to know, what are some of the highlights and misses from deck building cards? And I want to go first from a highlight. Ready for a Fight. We've talked about it a lot on my channel. I think we even talked about it a little bit on last episode when we were talking about heroes before this card even came out. But Ready for a Fight is that preparation card that when a villain would scheme, you can flip to hero form and the villain attacks you instead. And that just opens up so many options for true solo protection play, where you can flip down, you can trigger all of your alter ego supports, draw up to your hand size, but also get the benefit of the villain attacking you and draw cards with unflappable, and not have the villain scheme, which is a really nice benefit. And I think that card was the most impactful card this entire wave. Um, Potentially Practice Plan as well. Also, that combo is silly.
I think Ready for a Fight is a great shout here. You know, when I was doing more reviews of stuff coming up on my channel, normally I did like a deep dive of the hero, then a deep dive of the aspect cards, back to back, a couple of days after those are announced. I didn't do Falcon's review immediately. I did a video called "This is the card I've been waiting for," all about Ready for a Fight. I mean, it did cover the other stuff, but it was mostly about Ready for a Fight, and it has not disappointed. Um, I probably use it less than you because in multiplayer, it's less difficult to go down to alter ego. But I still use it on a few like specific key places. I think it really pops off. Colossus and She-Hulk spring to mind. Just characters with bigger alter ego hand size, and then when they flip down, get an extra tough or deal 2 damage. And because you flip down, you can flip back quicker, and so across the course of a game, you're getting more of that and more 6 hand size. A little bit like armor up. Things like that make it really exciting. So I think I would, in terms of highlights, that's one I 100% agree on.
Nice. Yeah, so good. I like it with. There are very few heroes I don't like it with.
Mm-hmm.
I have more, but do you have one that you want to shout out?
And we don't have to talk about them all in depth. In fact, we already talked about them all in depth. But I picked a highlight, one card from every aspect.
Cool.
And basic from these 4 hero packs specifically. And I'm going to shout out for leadership. I don't know how to pronounce them properly, but Hugin and Munin, the Raven ally thing. I love that, it comes in and it can ready multiple characters. They don't have to be aerial characters. So, it's interesting. And it's more minion summoning in a very interesting way. Kind of like Angela, you get to search 10 cards and choose. So I thought that was an awesome addition. Very unique, unusual card. Then I was going to say for aggression, firepower, maybe obviously, because that's amazing. But we talked about that enough. For Justice, a card I want to shout out. And when I did my deep dive aspect cards for, Shuri's pack, I think over half of it, like 25 minutes plus, it really extended this video out, was the Raft.
Yeah.
I love the Raft. And I think more than its raw power, although if you take it into the right place and prevent that boss minion ever coming back, superb. But more than its raw power, it's incredibly fun. And I just love, let's say when 2-player and my partner or someone defeats a minion, I'm arresting them and I just yoink them into the raft, and it's a good time. I really love that card. So that's the big one. That's probably my favorite one on this list. But I want to shout out an unusual basic card. We didn't talk about it with Winter Soldier, but I actually love his team up card, and it's going to surprise people. It's not the one you're probably thinking of. I love Super Soldiers with Captain America. We've used that 1 in 2-player, and giving the other player a tough and ourselves, and dealing 6 damage somewhere twice per deck pass, each respectively. It just feels really good.
Yes. Yeah, it's very high tempo. Yeah, I did a 2-handed game with Bucky and Cap, and it was good. It was very, very strong. I like both of his team up cards, honestly.
Yeah, they're good.
They're both a lot of fun. Okay, so I'm trying to think through. I didn't come up with one for each aspect, but I'm going to do it here on the fly. So I said, ready for a fight for protection. For leadership, strength, and diversity, I think needs a shout. Uh,
Yeah.
Remove a threat, deal damage for every trait among friendly characters, cost 2 per player. I think that's just like a really fun thing to build around, especially as you are, if you're like playing two handed, you can build kind of strength and diversity deck of 80 cards, which is a lot of fun. For yellow, the raft is a lot of fun. I do really like the raft. But since you said that, I'm a huge fan of infiltration. I think that's a really
Yes.
fun way to introduce minion summoning into yellow, where you discard 1 to 5 cards from the top of the deck, remove that much threat from a scheme, and then put a minion in play. And so that's a cool way to give threat removal, especially for like some of your big brawlers.
But also, if you don't get a minion, it's kind of an upside because it's
Yeah,
something you don't have to deal with. So it's just a 1 cost 5 threat removal card. So I love that card as well.
yeah,
Before we move on from Justice, can I interrupt
yeah,
you and give
absolutely.
one more Justice card? Shuri's pack was so good. I love the side scheme Show of Empathy. I think it's so fun to have a non-lethal way to kind of like, defeat a minion kind of thing, but you turn it to your side. But it's not mind control. It feels really fun to like turn them to your side like thematically.
Yes.
So that's a huge win for me as well. That was my second choice.
Nice. Yeah, that's one that I have not played a lot, but every time I play it, it's just like it's fun. It's a fun card. It's the definition of a fun card.
Yeah.
And then what am I missing? Aggression, Man on the Wall. I think Man on the Wall is just such a fun design. It's very Lord of the Rings inspired. Just like that's something that we saw in Lord of the Rings, with like the Dunedain archetype is all about having like enemies engage with you and then using those enemies for different benefits and keeping them engaged. And Man on the Wall feels right out of that kind of playbook. And
Hmm.
we don't have a ton of soldiers, but like it's really fun to discount something for 4. Like it's just like play
Yeah.
Ultron with Man on the Wall, and then you're like, give me the drones, give them to me. So that's fun. Did you have Leroy Jenkins also asked just kind of overall thoughts, and I think this is where I want to finalize this conversation before we move into our Civil War discussion. But overall thoughts on the wave. What did you think about this wave overall? Is there anything that we wanted to see that you didn't get to see? And then anything that we're still waiting for?
Yeah, so I'm gonna fly into what I wanted to see and we didn't see, and me and you talked about this a lot. I wanted a Monica Chang for tag team, and we never got
Yeah.
it. It felt like low hanging fruit, it felt like so right there, and we never got it. And I want it. I still want it.
I was
I
honestly
want it.
surprised that we didn't. I would
Yeah.
have bet a decent bit of money that we would have gotten something
Oh
around
yeah.
that. Maybe that bet was made and the designers were like, okay, I'll take that bet.
I I was so convinced. I think that would still be amazing. But it is what it is. Um, I was surprised we didn't get more Shield heroes. That they did. We got Shuri and Silk, and I'm fine that they did it. I also, if we're gonna keep on like a negative train here, we got Silk, but Sinister Motives isn't available. I
Yeah.
know we talked about that before, but it's still such a colossal like thing for me. And then, we got the team up card with Captain America, and his pack's not
Yep.
available. And like
Yep.
that's something I would love to see, become available. But it is what it is. Specific to the wave. Other than that, I don't know if I had any specific expectations. Um, other than maybe like we got Quake or Mockingbird as a hero, but thinking about it, getting another Spider here, getting Shuri, Black Panther, she's in the movie. Maybe financially, it made more sense to have characters that I think would be maybe more recognizable to more people. Um, in my opinion, maybe, but it's that's kind of what was in my head. Those things. Overall thoughts on the wave. Be positive. Didn't like the villains. Like the mod sets, particularly like the Thunderbolt mod sets. Really like 3 of the heroes. Like the other one. 2 of them are okay. So overall, I think it's strong for heroes. The heroes I really like. So I think the heroes are the highlight for me, followed by some really key aspect cards. The player side of things, I think was a good wave.
Nice. The highlight for the wave for me were the Thunderbolt mod sets. I think that was the best thing that this wave added to the game. We got, what did we end up with? 10 of them, I think,
Yeah, I think it's 10. Yeah.
which is just, and they're all unique. They're all fun. I'm putting them in the majority of my games now.
Wow.
Which probably like my win rate has gone down. Um,
No
yeah, but I,
wonder.
I like I like them. They're unique. They're fun. They create like they introduce like a significant challenge, and they can really ramp up some of these villains. Oh, I tried Rhino with Atlas. That was a tough one. That I schemed out because it was Rhino and I was playing true solo. But like um, like they're just fun. I enjoyed the villains I think more than you did. I like the scenarios, the
Mhm.
majority of the scenarios, and technically I think Trickster Takeover is in this wave, and so we do have Loki and Enchantress coming out in I guess this month. That
Wow, I'm intrigued for those.
yeah, and so like that'll be fun to trial and see how those go. Player cards and heroes top tier. I've been very happy with where the design of this game is going. I'm happy. I agree. I wish we had gotten a Monica Chang for you said tag team. I wanted med team. Which I think would be really really strong. But
I
uh,
always play my team a lot
yeah,
anyway.
right, right. Um, so so but yeah, I would have liked to see that. I think like also one of the parts of Leroy's question that I didn't answer last time is like, what are some of the things that I was lukewarm on in the wave? I think the team cards in this wave were a little lackluster. We got Agents of Shield and the Flying Formation,
I quite like the Flight Squadron
Flight
one, but
Squadron.
you have to
Yeah,
be careful with it. But yeah, the Agents of Shield one, not a fan.
yeah. And so like those I am on team. I think I have the same thought behind team cards as I do team up cards. It's a lot to get going. They should be strong. They should be things that you want to play, and you're creating a restriction for yourself in your deck building. So you should have access to something pretty cool. And I don't necessarily think Agents of Shield does that for me. I don't think flying what was it? Flight
Flight
Squadron.
Squadron.
Yes. I was like flying formation is not that. That one doesn't do it for me either.
Mm. Yeah, I think some of the problem with Flight Squadron is there's a limited amount of heroes who I think really want it. You can do aerial decks on a few, but like Angel and Falcon stand out above the others. And I think this is the thing we have with some of the other team cards in the game. We have Uncanny X Force, which I really like, but I think there's only two heroes I really love it with, and maybe there's like one or two more that's it's okay with. Same for Guardians of the Galaxy. I really like it, but there's only two characters I'm commonly using it for because the other characters of those traits have such strong game plans, if that
Mm,
makes sense.
yeah.
So they're not always splashable like across there. Then you've got Mighty Avengers and Uncanny X-Men. I almost want to say are too strong, but they're really fun. But like, I think it's a very hard line to balance to have them suit multiple characters from the same trait, be powerful enough to take, or not too weak not to take. But Agents of Shield and Flight Squadron are very niche in the first place on who's probably going to want them. So
Yeah.
yeah, no, I agree. I agree with you.
Cool. Alrighty, you ready to talk about Civil War?
So we still have time.
We do have time. I have time. Do you have time?
Yeah, yeah. I've got an hour, so
Perfect.
this might be a long episode. We'll see how we
Let's
go.
go. I think to buffer the discussions between Shield and Civil War, I want to ask a question that we got from TRYP09, which is Brains over Brawn just a terrible card?
Yes.
Yes. Cool.
Consider it bridged.
Civil War. It is
Uh,
a bad card. I think it's a card that could be fun to try and build into, but
mhm.
that is your entire game plan at that point, and I don't recommend doing it if you're going for power.
Yeah, I think Brains over Brawn to get to a level where not only is it worth it, but worth the setup. It's almost not there, I think. But like you really have to dedicate a lot of resources to get it from terrible to I'm getting good value that I expect. When Justice is full of other ways to do it, I do think it's kind of a fun card because there are a lot of cards in the game that I consider not like that good, but also not that interesting, particularly from the earlier game. I think these days, it's a lot better. Um, but Brains over Brawn, it's kind of fun. It's a fun concept, but it's lacking the tools I think needed to really like pop off and be more satisfying. Maybe we'll get them. Maybe we won't. Maybe they won't be in the same current environment as that card. I'm not sure. But yeah, it's an interesting card. It's the what is it? Deal damage equal to your fort kind of thing response. But
I think
it's
it costs 2, which is brutal.
yeah,
So you
yeah.
want
They've
like
got 10
5?
but they've got 10 the tide there for like 0
Yeah.
for free, or Waylay can get up to like 7 for it's a little bit more. I don't know. It's
Yeah.
a lot of work.
Yep. Yep. Okay, Civil War. We did a reaction to this a couple weeks ago by the time that this is posted, but they announced a new product. It's not a hero. It's not a campaign. It is what they call it, a deluxe scenario pack,
A custom scenario
custom
expansion.
scenario expansion. Let's go. So in the box, we are getting 4 new villains, which are all heroes. They're like leaders, which is synonymous with villain if you're playing cooperatively. And we're getting 16 modular sets as well as 2 heroes. Now we don't really know anything about the heroes as at the point of this recording, which I probably should check the Fantasy Flight website because it is a Thursday. Um,
Imagine.
That'd be wild. It is not up there yet. That would be insane if it was. Um, but so 2 heroes, 16 mod sets, 4 villains, and each one of these villains is what they're calling a very customizable scenario because you can kind of build a main scheme. And I think they were saying that there are 64 different combinations between heroes and main scheme, or I'm sorry, villains and main schemes that you can use to uh, that you can play against. And I am really looking forward to it. And all of that to say, that's what's coming into the in the box. And we are also getting a player versus player mode, which is taking the headlines whenever this box is being discussed. But let's talk about Civil War. What are your now that we've sat on it for a week? What are your thoughts around it?
Well, kind of what I was saying at the very start of this podcast episode, I think. You look at the box, it doesn't have the heroes on it. It's got Iron Man fighting Cap, Spider Woman, Captain Marvel. It doesn't show we're getting Hulkling and Tigra, which I find very unusual. I was actually, as you were saying that, just going back through all the heroes. And the only other time an expansion has ever done that was Mad Titan's Shadow. Didn't show Spectrum and Adam, who also, I think, more obscure than a lot of characters, maybe not, but I feel like that's a purposeful choice.
Yeah.
I'm going to start with the negative right away. It's a box with Captain America on the front, but it doesn't come with a Captain America I can play, and it's currently unavailable. I think that's such a big thing that
Mm-hmm.
has to be noted because I worry that we've come out of the X-Men wave, Agents of Shield. I think Shield is interesting, but it's not a big name grab like Defenders or Fantastic Four. And then we're going into this wave where Civil War is big, and Captain America, Iron Man, these are big names. But in terms of playable characters, it's looking. We don't have a confirmation of the silhouettes, but it seems likely we kind of know what they probably are. And these are characters I had never heard of before Marvel Champions. So I'm not sure how their shelf recognition is gonna do in particular here. So I guess I'm slightly worried about how this is going to sell on the back of Agents of Shield, which was obviously a bit of a step down from all X-Men. X-Men is such a big name, so a little bit concerned in kind of a meta sense. But in terms of me, I'm really excited because I know a lot of my favorite characters in this game. I never even heard of them before. These days I'm quite a bit more up to date on Marvel, but a couple of years ago, I mean, this game really got me into it a bit more. But a couple of years ago, I didn't know half of who I was playing. Who's Nova? Who's Ironheart? Loved Nova. My partner Ironheart's still one of her favorites. Now there's a series, but didn't know then. So I think these characters, even if I don't know them, have a lot of potential. But to talk about the Civil War part, I think I said at the beginning as well. I was looking on the shop page. Does it mention the player versus player to almost like one of the last sentences on its whole description? It is somehow both like the standout component, but also like the thing that's most alien to the game. And I think they know it's going to be wildly unbalanced. They described it in the article as thematic. That stuck with me.
Yep.
Why'd you describe it as thematic? It's not like all competitive, intense. Nope, it's thematic, and it is. I'm intrigued by that. We'll probably talk more on that as we go. But I think in general, the way I'm trying to see this is 2 heroes, even if I don't know them, mechanically seem very interesting, particularly Hulkling. And then we've got 4 scenarios, not 5, but the 4 we have are ultra customizable. I'm seeing it kind of like a normal expansion 2 heroes, but 4 scenarios instead of 5, but they're really customizable. And I'm thinking, Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., I had really high hopes for the villains, but real talk here, I would say 3 of the 5, probably my bottom 10 bottom 10 villains, is how I feel right now. I've barely gone back to them. People said, oh, they're good. I've tried going back, just not working. I'm trying, but I'm excited about all 4 in this box in a significant way where it seems hard to go wrong because they're not crazy different, but they have a really kind of in-depth interactive mechanic. 4 of them, I think. So that's kind of a big overview. Maybe I just rambled a lot here. Should I let you talk? But that's kind of my big kind of overall take here is that the quote unquote villains, the leaders, I think look phenomenal.
Yes, I agree, and I am excited to see what the heroes look like as well. The villains look really cool. I'm really excited for the modular sets.
Oh yeah.
We got a comment that Estrada said, not really a question, but it seems like all the modular sets have 5 cards each, and so since we're getting 16 of them, I think that'll be a lot of fun to drop Spider Man or Shield or whoever into old scenarios. Drop Spider-Man into the Sinister Six, and like, okay, like that's a fun little like
Whoa,
multiverse like showdown that's gonna happen. So I think
that's
I'm
so interesting.
yeah, I'm most excited for I think the mod sets in this box. Um and I think PvP is the clickbait thing for the box, right?
Yes.
But I've kind of thought about it. It's like, can you imagine if we were talking as much about Galaxy's Most Wanted, talking about the market? Like, because I think that's about as much I think more design effort went into the PvP mode than the market. But like, I think kind of think that's the substance equivalent of this box is like the campaign mechanic. So it's like we're doing missions in this box, and then PvP in this box, and so like it's kind of an alternate way to play campaign or PvP in the box. And so I think
Yeah.
it's very clickbaity in the sense, not in a negative term sense, but it's the thing that stands out is the thing that people are going to latch onto because it is
Yeah.
so interesting. But I think it's going to be such a small way of how I interact with this box.
Yeah, I've seen people. I've seen lots of comments on my stuff as well. Like even that's not really like super related, or just like people are saying PvP, not what I'm playing this game for, not interested. But it really feels like that's the bonus coming with this. Like me and you, we're not super campaign players. The campaign is kind of like the bonus, and that is how I think the PvP is here. But it's so weird and different. It is the thing that catches your attention and kind of imagination. That I think this box will struggle to shake it off, especially because a lot of the villains and cards are phrased in a way to work in that mode, even if they completely function standalone. So yeah, I think I agree. The mod sets is really interesting. I'm excited for a lot of those too, and I love that you said Spider-Man and Sinister Six. Now I'm thinking, what if I put Spider-Man with Iron Spider Sinister Six, and I can have Iron Spider
Ooh,
and Spider-Man, and I'm trying to get the spiders. I'm excited.
that's really cool. So we have some listener questions that I want to go through. I've kind of broken them up into 3 different sections. So we have encounter villain, we have questions that revolve kind of around player versus player, and then we have questions that are dealing with the heroes. So let's dive in
Yeah.
and talk about W. Kyle Greens. They are asking, do we hope to see more sets in the future that can mix and match villains and main schemes similar to the customizable format that we're getting in this box, especially if they are fully compatible with these leader scenarios?
I, hmm, for me, thinking about that, I'm skeptical. I think it could be really good. But I think if they're making multiple schemes that work for multiple villains, they're going to be a bit more vanilla and generic potentially than something that's custom built for the character. A lot of villains have a main scheme which directly interacts with what they want to do in terms of encounter cards, maybe interacts with their villain card. Not all of them, but I would worry too much that just works with anything, which means scenarios start to lose their identity a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
But it could be really fun. I think the way I'd hope to see it is Nelson, the Morlock Siege and On the Run
Yes.
have like 9 potential villains, and they can each have either of those. What if we have another pair of scenarios which have a few main schemes that could swap in and out? Maybe like there's 9 main schemes that could be in either of those. Something like that, where it's a little bit more limited, but not everywhere. At the same time, if this proves to be really fun, of course, if I've got more that works with it, I'm not gonna complain. But I just think they'd have to be careful, not to make everything too generic.
Yep. My mind goes directly to Mansion Attack, right? Where you have like multiple different main schemes and they all have a
Yes.
different ability and stuff. I think it would be really cool to have like Mansion Attack plus Morlock, the Morlocks, where you could like mix and match the schemes and potentially like if you took out these 2 schemes in scenario 1 and scenario 2, now you have to resolve these 2 schemes. This whatever you didn't do in the first one. It almost feels Arkham in that sense, where it's like, okay, are you gonna go to the poker club first or second, and then you kind of get
Yeah.
to pair those with the different villains at that time. I think could be cool. I think it would be challenging to do it where this works, or these main schemes would work in these 7 villain scenarios. I think I liked what you said, where it could lose a little bit of the identity if you do it like that. Um, but I think we are opening the design door up to interesting and unique ways to manipulate the main scheme deck. And I think that's what I'm most excited for. Not necessarily using main schemes from other encounters in this, but we're kind of changing the way that the main scheme deck can be built, and that's what I'm looking forward to.
Yeah, I'd agree.
Nice. Um, Dustin asks, after reviewing the 4 leaders of the villains in the box, what cards are you planning to tech against them? Are you going to use like Sunfire versus Iron Man, because Iron Man has all of these upgrades and Sunfire can, delete the iron or the upgrades? Are you going to use Perfect Defense or Tough Status cards against Captain Marvel, who hits really hard?
Oh yeah.
Like, have you thought about any specific matchups, either hero or player card, that you're going to definitely take up against some of these guys?
No, I have not thought about it. But I love what they're saying here. Like Sunfire against Iron Man already shows they put more thought into it than me. But my initial thought on hearing that is I'm going to take Magneto. I'm going to take the hero pick, and I'm going to use his forwarding card, which rips off attachments. And now I'm magnetically ripping away the suit, which works as well.
Oh, that's cool.
So it's a mechanic and thematic tech against tech, which is super. We're on multiple levels here. But I hadn't thought about it. But obviously, tough against Captain Marvel. I think tough against Captain America is going to be good too. Apparently, the captains do not like toughs because then he can't get his shield back because he can't damage you. The overkill super serum we looked at isn't going to get through that tough. So I think stuns and toughs both seem like they're going to be good against Captain Marvel, Captain America. I wouldn't be surprised if on the second side they had steady. My only question mark with that would be some of the customizable main schemes, I think, give steady. So maybe they wouldn't want to double up, but maybe they will. Who knows?
Does that take 4 status card at that point?
Can you imagine? Really, really steady.
Yeah.
But not quite stalwart.
Nah,
um,
it's effectively stalwart though.
it might as well be. What have we got? Spider Woman. I mean, a lot of it is they're increasing their damage or getting to attack you in interesting ways. With Iron Man, his tech is a lot of it is boosting the attack stats, so it does feel like toughs and stuns might be really good here. I was thinking about Spider Woman now. I think Falcon's gonna be good there, right? Because she gets a treachery, it's gonna boost her attack stat. You can just use aerial recon to make sure it's not a treachery.
Yep.
So that's another one. I think my brain has gone more to heroes, but global logistics would do that too. I don't know if I've got any deeper thoughts than that.
Yep. Yeah, I like playing perfect defense against Cap. I think that'll be fun because I really like playing perfect defense with Cap. When I say Cap, I mean America. But because there are 2 captains in this box, Captain Marvel and Captain America. But Captain America playing his own game against him, I'm kind of looking forward to that. I don't necessarily think that that's going to be. It could be strong because if you don't take any damage, then he's not going to take his shield back, and then you also get that retaliate 1 from the shield, so you kind of get an additional ping back whenever you're getting attacked. That was almost a bar right there, but
it was good. I almost had a thought when you said that. Use his own plan against him. What if you get the shield, then you taunt him, use the taunt card, and perfect defense into him, so you make him take extra retaliate from his own shield.
That'd be hilarious.
That feels so disrespectful.
Yeah, right.
Maybe I want to do more disrespectful plays than good plays, if that makes sense.
Yeah. After the week that we've sat on this, do you have one that you are more looking forward to than the others when it comes to leaders?
I think I'm still on the Captain Marvel kind of thing. Like the dynamic way she kind of attacks back against you, reacts to what you do, feels really fun to me. In theory.
Yeah. I'm still on Captain America. And I'm just really excited to see more of these. I'm so intrigued. I think that we talked about it with Falcon earlier in the podcast, when they are able to have parallels between like the hero and the ally version of a character. But now we're seeing parallels. I guess we saw it with Nebula and Magneto too, but parallels between like the hero and the villain. It's just like I don't know. It just makes me happy. It makes my like my little like uh happiness happiness receptors go off, and I like it.
I was gonna say, I was gonna say we hadn't seen it from hero villains now mimicking heroes. Normally it's heroes that have mimicked villains, but we did actually see it with Black Widow in Agents of
Oh
Shield.
yeah.
And off the back of that, this is maybe even more direct. We're now gonna see it here. So we're gonna kind of have five if you include Black Widow. I know it's Yelena, but it's similar. We're gonna kind of have like five, and I guess you include Magneto and Nebula. Seven? Looking at my hands at six, so I've got six fingers, but I've just said seven. But we're gonna have seven heroes who are also villains in the game now, basically. And I'm kind of looking forward to that. Any comic book storyline, a lot of the movies they fight each other a lot. Well, we have the Synthozoid Smackdown. What a name! Scenario pack that's gonna add a couple more in the future.
Yep.
So we're gonna have 9 that are heroes and villains. I like the storytelling in that. I already like the Shield mod set in Agents of Shield. That's just a different topic mod sets, but we're getting some more Shield mod sets. We're getting like the Spider-Man mod set. I like the hero versus hero thing just because that is a thing that comes up in Marvel stories. So a lot of people who are like, oh, thematically, I don't want to fight heroes. I want more villains. I think this is kind of thematic in its own way. So I'm going to throw that out there. Completely derail the topic, but I like that.
Nice. I'm pumped for it. Let's talk about player versus player.
I've got a question for you.
Let's do it.
It's not on your list. It's not on your list. I challenged you when we first started doing the reaction on the stream, our first reveal thing. Would you fight me? And you said yes. So I'm gonna lay down the challenge now. Maybe classic Captain America versus Iron Man. Are you down for that?
Yes. Ooh, I like that. I like that a lot. I'm trying to like. Are you so like we would play Cap or Iron Man?
We could go crazy and break the rules, and we could have Iron Man and Iron Man versus Cap and Cap, and
Yes.
that could be really fun.
That would be a lot of fun. I would love that. 100%. Let's do it.
Okay.
I'm pumped.
Okay.
Both of those will be a lot of fun. So I guess that may actually answer our first question here from Jay Atkinson, who is, what is the first hero outside of the Civil War wave that you want to put into the Civil War scenario, and what leader do you want to fight? Is it Cap versus Tony and vice versa, or?
Yeah, that's the obvious one, and I think because I'm 2-player, what I was really thinking about, me and my partner are playing, maybe one of us will be Captain America, one of us will be Winter Soldier, because I do love that team up card, against Iron Man, and now I'm just playing the movie, and that's gonna be my first thing, I think, because I want to go Team Resistance. I'm not gonna lie to you.
Yeah. You just like blew my mind when you mentioned team up cards and competitive play. That's gonna be really fun.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
I was thinking like the cooperative mode there, but yeah, I can hit you with super soldiers or something if I've got a Winter Soldier beside me. That's fun.
That's nifty. I like it a lot. Oh, that's fun. I'm trying to think of fun things that would lean into like a PvP mode. I think Falcon. No, I don't know. I'm trying to figure. We don't have too much information on how we're going to be able to interact with the other side of the table. But I was like, Falcon, if we can start dealing out some like aerial recon, and I was like, no, I don't think that's going to work. I think it's going to be similar to Kang, where we're kind of in our own zone, our own bubble, and we can't really like reach outside of that bubble and affect like your side of the table. But I do think Falcon would be a lot of fun, just like kind of being that perfect defense, just kind of negating a lot of the encounter cards that are going to be dealt to us. I think Miss Marvel is always going to be fun, being able to play events. Were any of the like special events that we get whenever you flip that side scheme, were any of those attack or thwart events? I'm looking for them right now.
I don't know if they've got that word. I know some add like threat onto the enemy scheme.
Bummer. I was like, I really wanted to recur those with Miss Marvel. That'd be great.
That would be amazing. You can do it with the Nova Miss Marvel signature ally. I think we talked about that on the stream actually. But I'm looking at the wording on aerial recon, unless there's something against it, which they could be. It could say like the Kang are in different areas. It looks like it'll work to me, and I don't know if we will be in different areas because it says enemy team does this, or maybe your leader does that. and the leaders can attack each other. I don't know. I would love to take something that should be for my team and give it to the enemy
Yep.
team. Feels like it's going to break the game, but that's awesome. I think we're kind of leaning into one of the other questions we've got here, because the Olops is saying, are there any different strategies or anything you're worried will be overpowered or unfun to play against in the new PvP mode? And I'm more thinking what will be fun
Yeah.
than this. But I think could be some really weird strategies. I think what I'm mostly worried about is a different pattern heroes and how to separate that, because everyone has their own different tier list. So who's going to think who's too strong and who's not? Who's going to agree on that? If you're going to do it, or do I don't know. I'm not convinced that Groot versus I don't know. Doctor Strange is a random example. Is going to be the perfect kind of balance.
Yeah. I to straight up answer the question, yes, there will be combos that are overpowered and unfun to play against. 100%.
Mm-hmm.
It's going to be highly thematic, as they say, not necessarily
Wow.
balanced. But I do think that is the goal. If you are going to play this competitively, I think that you can have discussions previous to sitting down at the table to just kind of like understand where the power level of the deck that you're going to be building should be. But I think another way that you could do it is similar to the new format that Star Wars just announced, where like maybe you bring 3 decks and your opponent gets to veto one. So if you show up with
Ah.
like Strange, Captain America, and Groot, it's like, well, you cannot play Strange, and so you play with the other 2 decks. Um, there or something like that. I think that could be a way to kind of like smooth out some of those imbalances. But I do think that there are going to be just things that are going to be wildly overpowered. Some cards are just going to be, okay, well, it's really, really good. I mean, that's already the case, right? Like Dive Bomb is
Yep.
already really good with home technique. So stuff like that.
Yeah.
Do any of them jump out as like very specific examples if you're like, that's probably going to get banned?
I've got Cable in my head. I don't know how true this would be, but he's so good at forwarding the side schemes, and it starts with his side schemes. He can ready up off that. Maybe that's useful. I don't know. There's probably some really crazy stuff. I feel like the people who can, like Deadpool, who can just like go from 0 to 1,000 in 1 second and like one shot the enemy villain or something potentially on turn 1 or 2. It feels, you have to get through the side scheme, but he can do that too. So,
Yep.
or your buddy can do it. So
Yep.
in 2 vs 2. So that's in my head. Any you've got?
I think Deadpool was the one that sprang to mind. I've seen a lot of chatter online just because I mean Deadpool breaks the game, and so
Yeah.
so I think he will have one of those coveted top tier spots when it comes to power. I think Strange, anyone who revolves around, because we haven't seen you said one of the main schemes gave him steady, and so maybe like not the status heroes.
I'm wondering, is Rush going to be the strategy? Get through that side scheme and then just go, because then like Star Lord, Captain Marvel, um, you know, Winter Soldier
Hulk.
might be actually kind of good. I'll think about Hulk, but potentially actually like if he can get through that side scheme.
And I think like at 2 players, if you have one player like a Captain Marvel, if you Captain Marvel Hulk, right, and Captain Marvel lean into Justice and just thwart down that side scheme, or have someone else thwart down that side scheme, but can also flex really heavy into damage, and then let Hulk smash. Like I think games can be over fairly quickly, and I do. Yeah, a team is eliminated when their leader is defeated. Now we haven't seen all of the mechanics to see if there is something that slows down Rush when the hero flips. Or, I'm sorry, when the leader flips or something like that. So maybe Rush is not going to be as viable as we are initially thinking just after reading the article. But I do think that Rush will, if not overpowered, will be unfun to play against.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that's a good representation of how I feel as well. So we'll see what happens. Need more information.
Yeah. Um, I'm sure I will come. I'll as soon as we stop hitting record, I'll remember a hero that I think is going to be, or a card that I think is going to be way overpowered in this new set. We got another card from Jason. Um, Jason O'Loughlin. Do you think that they will make more player versus player expansions in the future? And if so, what themes would you like to see? Or do you think it's going to be something similar to Pool, where it's kind of a one-off and done?
I think as a business, they will follow the money, right? I think that just makes sense. If this expansion turns out to be super amazing. People that like PvP get involved in the game, and it brings a lot of new players in. It just sounds really well, and there's demand for it. They will do this again. I don't think they expect that. I know they work a year or two ahead. I don't think they've planned another one in that time yet. I am worried that the lack of name recognition in the heroes, as I kind of talked about, and I think PvP in a game that is not PvP, that's not why people play it. There's lots of other games out there for it. I'm worried this box won't do very well. I want it to, I have said, I'm slowing down to stopping my channel, etc. But I still love it. Still my favorite game. Still here on the podcast. Still absolutely love it. I want it to do well. I'm not convinced it will. I already think it's, PvP is the big hook, but it's like a little footnote in their description. I think they know it's going to be wildly unbalanced. I'm worried. However, it could be super fun to see it again. I'm gonna just answer my own different question for a second here. So I want to share an idea I had. I had an idea for like a 5 scenario campaign for Civil War, and the first two, let's say you're on the Resistance fighting the Registration. The third one, and this would have to be in 2-player as a heads up, 2 to 4-player. But when you finish beating both of the Registration villains, then you swap sides and you have a 1 versus 1 or 2 versus 2. As one of you's changed sides, they've changed their mind. You can build the story into it, and then the other one will change their mind, and then you fight with the same 2 heroes, both of the Resistance villains. You can kind of like string it along and have the PvP be like a little break in the middle of fighting
really
those
cool.
4. So just make fighting the PvP like a little interlude, and maybe the winner is the first player in the next scenario, like that kind of thing. Is what I've got in my head. I do think it could be a lot of fun, just as a fun thing, not as a serious thing. And if that was the case, I like the idea of fighting Hulk, because here people are always fighting Hulk. I want a Hulk, quote unquote, villain, a leader. Maybe 4. So we have like maybe the bigger, more well-known kind of Avengers, the movie Avengers. I remember in the first Avenger movie, Iron Man fights 4, and then Captain America gets involved, and we've got 2 out of those in this. So I guess that's what I'm looking for. What about you?
Yeah, I could like the example that was given by Jason was Avengers versus X-Men. I think that could be a lot of fun. I could also see them using this product type with this like deluxe super customizable scenario expansion box or whatever they're calling it as a way to get some of the like heroes that we missed out on. I'm thinking like Professor X or Beast. Like I think this could be a fun way to get like those into the game as playable heroes. So it's like release another expansion like this, and you're gonna get Beast, and you're going to get insert well-known Avenger character that we don't have here, and like those are the 2 heroes in the box, and then you can get some like fun fighting or like some fights there. I think it could also be really cool to do like a zombie themed. I saw that floating around, and like leaning into that, you got like the zombie what ifs and zombie like all of that. So you have like the zombie version of Captain America that you can fight against, and I think that could be kind of fun.
I love this idea that like maybe not another PvP expansion box, but a different game mode expansion box. The zombie one with PvP in my head, what I'm imagining here is, what if it's not going to do it because it's multiplayer only in my head, or at least the solo will be less good. But what if you're in a 4-player game and it's survival, and the last one alive wins, but when you get defeated, you're then trying to take out the enemy.
That's cool.
I don't know, something like that. That just popped into my head.
Yeah. Oh yeah, that could be a lot of fun. Like I'm thinking of like zombies from Call of Duty now, where it's like it's cooperative, but and then
you
so
swap sides.
yeah, that would be fun. That would be a lot of fun. I'm excited to play that when they develop it. Nice. Do you want to talk about the heroes in the box?
Yeah.
I think I want to.
We don't have a lot to talk about them yet.
Yeah, and I do want to kind of kick off the conversation with one of my favorite usernames that I've ever heard, Aggressive Napkin. And I think what we have to talk about them is effectively their names and just a general idea of what they do, Hulkling and Tigra. And Aggressive Napkin is asking, do you think that the heroes coming out in this box are what they say so lackluster because Caleb wanted to do this box as his last project, so to make room for the box they used heroes that they were not planning on using in the future? I think that is probably the case. They did say that this is a bonus, a quote, a bonus wave, whatever that means. And so I assume that that was not part of the initial roadmap that we've heard the designers talk about before, where they've kind of mapped out the products for X number of years in advance, along with villains and heroes, assuming that they can maintain and keep and get the licensing to use those names. But that would probably be my guess, is that they have the Defenders, they have F4 on this roadmap. And so, in order to add in and slot this bonus wave in, they had to use some hero or some names that just weren't that great. Then also, I think that they have the name recognition in the leaders more so than they have in the heroes. And I'm wondering, from a
Yeah,
marketing perspective, did they think that they needed big name heroes in the box, or did they think that
right.
having Cap and Tony on the box could sell it, where the heroes would sometimes do that in some of the previous boxes?
Yeah, that's interesting. I kind of think this is correct. These are like spare heroes they weren't using, but at the same time, I did a video with like 25 plus heroes I'm looking forward to. I feel like they had a lot of material here, especially now they're going to do redesigns of old ones. I think I would have probably preferred to see some maybe slightly bigger names here. But nonetheless, characters like Nova, who I didn't know before it was released in Marvel Champion, turned out to be one of my favorites. So I'm not like disappointed per se, but maybe I would have preferred to see something different. Is kind of how I feel here. I know Caleb. I think on our podcast, said about his roadmap he had out. They fulfilled everything on it, like his original roadmap. But there's like a pipe dream kind of extra. Could we do Civil War?
Mm-hmm.
And that's kind of what he's getting to do here. It looks like. So that is exciting, but the heroes a little bit weird. Um, I see we have a question here from Cardboard Crash Course. A lot of good names here. I think when we go into the Civil War expansion box, the aggressive napkin might be one of my weapons of choice. Yeah, Cardboard Crash Course asks us, I would love for you to talk about Hulkling. Did you know that he isn't related at all to Hulk? He gets this green color from being a scroll. Unfortunately, that probably means no gamma support. I know we brought that up on our stream reaction, right? So that's okay. So Hulkling, the name is based on Hulk because he used to imitate Hulk, is what I've learned.
Oh, okay.
But he is not gamma at all. He's like an alien Skrull Kree hybrid or something. Um,
Hmm.
but I think the shape shifting nature of him has me kind of excited. So I went ahead and tried to look up what does he shapeshift into, and I'm going to be honest with you, he basically just goes from kind of like human like as I can see into the picture we see in the art they showed us, where he's like this big green muscular winged
Yeah.
guy. So I'm not actually sure what else he could go into. I think he can transform into other things. I saw a comic book panel where he was like a centaur or
Oh,
something weird.
okay.
Like people were like flying on his back. Apparently he can get kind of stretchy, maybe like kind of Reed Richards kind of style. I'm not 100% sure, but I don't really know. But that's a little bit of Hulkling talk I wanted to throw out there. But I definitely feel like these were heroes they had no intention of using otherwise.
Right. Right. I had never heard of Hulkling before this article. I had never heard of Tigra before the Aggression Ally. Right. Like, just
Yeah.
that they're new to me names. And I don't necessarily think that that holds too much weight for me. I like the mechanics more than I like the characters when I'm playing.
Yes.
I do think that if I'm playing Spider-Man, it's cool because it's Spider-Man, because I really like Spider. But like when you get out of some of like the favorites for me, it could be I like the theme, but it could be anything within that Marvel theme, and I would probably be fairly happy. I am curious
Yeah.
to see if it's going to be like a spectrum type situation where you have like different forms and you're flipping into different forms with Hulkling, and see how that goes. But I'll be excited. I do want Gamma support. I want it. I want it. Dang it. Um.
Well, you know what I was thinking about. As we had that question, would we like more PvP expansions? What if we got a hero pack that also had a villain version of that hero in it?
That'd be cool.
Could they? Winter Soldier would have been a great candidate, but I was thinking about Hulk. If we get a redesigned Hulk, because I feel like Hulk is a character that the heroes fight a lot. So
Yeah.
just a random gamma support idea with villain support idea.
I like it. What about Tigra? You know, they talk about in the article that she is going to be kind of a minion slayer type situation, hunting down
Hmm.
minions from the encounter deck. So it does sound like she's going to be summoning those minions. One of the things that I've realized after 60 Heroes is that the designers have way better ideas than I ever will for the game. And so, like, when I read something like this, I think a year ago, I'd be like, how many more ways can we do minion summoning? But I don't, I think that the designers have that well under control. So I trust them to do something really cool with that, but I have no idea what it could be. Do you have any thoughts on how Tiger could stand apart from some of these other minion summoners that we have?
I just had a random
Yeah.
thought go through my head. Two characters in the game, two heroes that are maybe among the most controversial designs would be Hulk and Valkyrie, and now we're getting Hulkling and another character that hunts down minions. Is this a little sneaky redo? Do we think there's anything in that? Is that crazy for me to say that?
That could be.
Because the way they describe Hulkling does sound very different to Hulk, but it just was a thought that went through my brain.
Hmm. Yeah.
But
It does say that she gets
I
stronger based on the number of enemies engaged with her, which is that's just such a risky scenario. I love it.
it's very man on the wall with
Yep.
Bucky. You know what I
Yep.
mean? But she's not a soldier. We established this on our little live
Yeah.
reaction. She is not a soldier. Um, Going back to Hulkling briefly, trying to think what they described. I think they said he'd have forms that like change his ability or like it would do something. So I hope his forms are really different, not just different stats, kind of like Spectrum. Maybe a different ability, almost like three heroes in one that you shapeshift between. That's what I'm hoping for him. For Tiger, I'm thinking, I talked about the Ravens, Hugin and Huey and Mui.
Yeah.
That the way they are different to stuff like looking for trouble, squared off. Rather than discard until you find one, you look in the top 10.
Yeah.
I wonder if she'll have hero cards which look in the top 10. She's hunting them down. She's a bit more choice.
Yep.
That's my first thought. My second thought is a lot of the mod sets in this box have stuff like guard on them or things like that. And I'm wondering if you want to keep a bunch of minions that are against you, but they could have all these annoying keywords. Can she blank the minions that are out against her? Maybe like a
Yeah.
intimidation kind of thing, like that blanks the text boxes, something like that.
That could be
So
really
that would be
cool.
another, or maybe lowers their attack.
Hmm.
Like all minions have -1 attack. Maybe play my upgrade. All minions have -2 attack. Maybe that's too strong. Bring it's gonna go very vision kind of style. It's gonna explode. But maybe -1 to attack with Storm. That's felt quite reasonable to me. So maybe that's an option.
Hmm.
Because her Blizzard weather does that. So there's ways I think they could incorporate it and make it interesting. Um, I feel like she might be another Winter Soldier kind of thing. It feels like it's screaming aggression to me. It's screaming bring it specifically. If there's not a bring it in every aspect, it's screaming bring it if you're keeping minions engaged. It just there's no other way around it. But it definitely sounds fun and interesting. Do you want to know something fun about Tigra? I
I
looked
do.
up.
I do.
This is one of the craziest things I think I'm going to say on any podcast episode. Do you know Tigra's backstory
I do
whatsoever?
not.
So, in Marvel lore, there are cat people. They're a race of cat people who magically evolved from cats in Europe during the Middle Ages.
Okay. Okay.
I read this on the wiki, so it's 100% true.
And you live there, and have you seen these cat people?
Maybe at like cosplay events. I don't know. No, I have not. So apparently there's a whole like there's just cat people, and they mystically transformed Tigra before she was Tigra, I think to save her life or something, into a half human, half cat warrior.
Hmm.
So that's
That's
that's what I
cool.
learned in my research. So she's a genuine half cat warrior person. So expecting lots of like feline puns. Hopefully she's feline good and stuff like
Ah,
that.
nice.
That's what I'm looking for.
Nice. That's cool. Yeah, I'll be interested. I'm trying to think of like her ally version now, where it's whenever she attacks and defeats a minion, you get to heal a damage from
Hmm.
her. So I wonder if we're going to see something similar to that in her hero build, but that kind of is anti what they say, where she wants minions engaged with her, and that's removing minions engaged with her. So I don't know. I'm very excited for an article. What's up?
Here's a weird idea. What if when she defeats a minion, she gets rewarded for however many minions are still engaged
Oh,
with
that'd
her?
be cool.
So that's a kind of a fun
That would be
interaction.
a lot of fun. I would like that a lot. Huh. Alrighty. Maybe you should
Now I
design
want.
some stuff.
I mean, I like game design as an idea. But yeah, Tiger sounds fun.
Tiger does sound fun. We've
I've
answered.
talked myself into it.
Yeah. We've answered a lot of MD Phantom Flip's question that they gave us. Um, they're talking about how stoked they are for the box and all of that. But I am there's a part of here that I want to call out to ask you about. Hulkling is a shapeshifter, so they think that maybe that means we're gonna get some more cards that deal with form changing. Could you see that happening?
Ooh. Yeah, I mean, he's a form changer. I can definitely see it happening. I'm actually surprised we haven't got that
Hmm.
already. They've reprinted Surprise Attack and Perseverance. That came with Colossus. Did they reprint the Surprise Attack? Maybe it's Surprise Move I'm thinking
They
of. Don't
printed
remember.
reprinted Ready to Rumble with Gambit.
Yeah, that's another form changing basic card. So they've reprinted like the protection and basic one definitely, but Lay Down the Law, which I think is like the best one, right? They haven't reprinted, so I could see a reprint of that happening. Except it's a protection precon for Hulkling, they've said,
Hmm.
and aggression for Tigra, which makes incredible amounts of sense. Um, I'm surprised we've seen all these different form changes, and they've never added to the original ones that came with Ant-Man and Wasp.
Hmm.
They've never added. Well, Ready to Rumble they added with, was that Spectrum the first time? Um, it's come in two different packs. It's been reprinted, like you said. Um, so I fully expect that. In fact, if they don't do that, I'll be grumpy, and you guys might hear that from me. Where's the form changing stuff? Because I feel like we need some more of it. I especially think leadership. Moxie has not proved very popular.
Oh yeah,
Um,
that's a
so,
card.
so that's a card that exists if you want to use it. There's interesting builds with it, but it's kind of just better stuff you can do. I feel like
Hmm.
so. Leadership getting something form changey that's more appealing
I
would be cool.
I would be interested to see them in the form of like an upgrade or even potentially a support. Like we have Ant-Man with his
Ooh.
giant strength, which is whenever he changes into giant form, he gets +1 attack, and that's an upgrade. And we have events. I guess we have Ready to Rumble, but that's a discarded upgrade. So it's like almost like a delayed event in my head. I want something that it's like anytime you change form, add a counter, and then like you can, I don't know, something like that. I think that
Oh,
could be fun. Um,
that's fun.
Instead of just
I
like
think there might
more
have to be
events. Yeah.
like I said, there might have to be a limit per turn on that
Oh
because some
sure.
characters can change form a lot. Like Shadowcat, every time she plays an attack, you can
Yeah.
change form. Um, but that's interesting. I like that. When you said upgrade, I immediately thought consumable upgrade, and that might make them more viable for a regular hero because Ant Man can go from hero form to hero form. Shadowcat can go from mass form to mass form one in hero form. But some characters, if they draw that event in the wrong form, they can't
Yeah.
use it, right? Like a regular hero, typically. Um, Ready for a Fight, I guess, does make the perseverance a bit better, a bit more accessible. But maybe there's an upgrade that you play, and it says when you change form, discard it, do this thing. So that was a thought that came into my head, but I definitely like what you were saying as well there. Almost feels like an Angel's Airy for form changing instead of defending kind of thing. So no, I like that. I think there's different ways they could take that. Could even be an ally that after you change
Hmm.
form gets a little benefit or something.
Or like a Ready
So
to Rumble that has different effects on if you change into hero or alter.
yeah, like Metamorphosis for
Yep.
Angel of the event, but like an upgrade version.
That'd be
That
fun.
would be fun.
Yeah.
Yeah, let's design some
Let's
stuff.
do it. Nice. I overall I'm really pumped for the box. I think it's going to be a really cool addition to the game. Anything that you want to say before we close it out? This was a meaty episode.
Yeah. I don't know if I do. I feel like we covered a lot of stuff here, honestly. Overall, I think just really homing in on the Civil War box, 4 customizable scenarios, 2 new heroes is, I think, the thing. And the headline grabber is the player versus player, but really feels like a minor aspect of it to me. We'll see how well this ages, but it looks that way, and they've kind of sold it that way so far. Um, I think the previous wave, the current wave we're kind of in, I guess right now, that's kind of concluding with the tricks to take over. I've loved those heroes. Nick, Shuri, Falcon stand out to me as characters that I'm gonna continue to enjoy in the long term. Winter Soldier not my style, but like strong heroes. So I guess that's my takeaway. Looking forward to the new scenarios and enjoying the current heroes.
Absolutely. And if you have any thoughts around the Civil War or the Agents of Shield wave, make sure to comment down below if you're watching on YouTube, or send us any notes to shadowofthecast@gmail.com. And yeah, I'm looking forward to hearing what you all think, because I think the game's in a really fun spot. I think we have a lot of cool stuff coming out, and we have had a lot of cool stuff come out recently. It's there's a lot going on in the Marvel Champions world.
Yeah, there's the release pace is really fast, and actually, I do want to say, while I am still very skeptical about current environment and stuff, I listened to the interview at Con of Heroes, and it sounded really interesting what's coming up and the way they're thinking about the game. So I'm feeling overall pretty optimistic, and yeah, really looking forward to fighting you in Civil War.
Nice, same. Sweet. Well, yeah, thanks for hanging out and listening, everybody. I hope you all enjoyed the episode as much as at least I enjoyed recording it. I don't know if Villain liked it. I can never get a read. Yeah, okay, cool. That's better than not liking it, I guess. But yeah, let us know what your thoughts are down below in the comments or at the email. And yeah, until next time, I hope you all have just a fantastic time, and we'll see you around. Peace.
See you guys. Bye.